courses that have been enthusiastically received by the Dominican population. This speaks to a wide appetite for reconnection with our language and our cultural foundation. Moreover, research continues to affirm that what the elderlies have long known, children who are fluent in the Creole language tend to perform better in other areas of the academic life. Why? Because when children are allowed to learn and express themselves in a language they truly understand, they develop stronger cognitive skills, greater confidence, and a deeper connection to who they are. So today's consultation is more than a meeting of minds. It is a declaration that the Creole matters. That is, it is not merely a vernacular to be tolerated or perceived in pockets, but a living language to be respected, institutionalized, and passed on. As we begin our discussions today, I encourage each and every one of us to approach this space with open hearts and open minds. Let us honor where we've come from and acknowledge where we are going and boldly envisage where we need to go. Let us work collaboratively to develop mindful strategies that fully integrate Creole into our education systems, our media, our governance, and our daily lives. Creole is more than just words. It is the soul of our people. It holds our laughter, our resistance, our songs, our prayers, and our wisdom. Let us honor it, let us protect it, and most importantly, let us speak it boldly and without apology. On behalf of the organizers committee, I welcome every one of you once again. May today be fulfilled and insightful and shared wisdom and renewed commitment to our cultural identity. I thank you all again. Merci à pile, bienvenue.
Well, you should hear the lady. Merci, bravo, bravo, Barry. Say, Saidiwe. She said, bravo. That's my fellow host. Give him another round of applause, everybody. Thank you so much. I'd like to tell you that Creole for me started in the 50s. So that gives you an idea of when I was born. I was in Curacao at the time, and there we learned English at home. We had to speak English to mommy and daddy. When we went to school, we had to speak Dutch to the teachers. In the yard, we could speak Papiamento with our fellow brothers and sisters students and we couldn't speak Creole, although we heard them speak Creole and tell all the nice jokes and stories about Creole and within Creole, but we had to pretend that we didn't understand it. And we did. We pretended, but we learned. And then at age 9, when they brought me to Dominica and put me at the St. Luke's School at Point Michel, all children were talking Creole. So, you know, Ophelia spoke a Creole. So put your hands together one more time for me. I'm going to stay here for a lot of the time because that particular something challenges me. In a good way, anyway. Make your label. Ezotan Dr. Barry parler anglais comme si c'est créole te capable. Oui, créole ni en musique, en danse, en mouvement. Ça savent bon Seigneur dit moi supposé essayer danser petit à plus les mon ka chanter, mais même les mon ka parler, mon ka danser mon Seigneur. En 8 ans, ladies and gentlemen, it is my opportunity to present to you the lady who has come in from the Alliance Française. Her name is, and she's our director at Alliance Française, her name is Sévine Mel Henderson. Please welcome her.
Okay. Mesdames, Messieurs, bonjour. J'espère qu'en cas souhaité que tout le monde allait bien. Bon matin là. So my name is Sévine Mel Henderson, and I'm the director of Alliance Française. It is an honor to stand before you today in collaboration with Creole Heartbeat and our very own WADIX. So thank you for having me. as we are here to discuss and ensure the preservation, the restoration, the promotion, and the celebration of the Creole language and culture in Dominica, but also across the region. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that the Creole language, which was born from resilience, shaped by history, and spoken with pride, survives. Alliance Française has long stood as a pillar in the promotion of the French language, as you all know, and French cultural exchange. But today, Alliance Française believes in empowering communities to celebrate their identity by embarking on meaningful partnerships to spread the Francophone culture way beyond the French language. So therefore, together, Alliance Française and Creole Heartbeat are working together, hand in hand, to facilitate dialogue across the communities, to support research and documentation that will help strengthen the academic and cultural recognition of Creole in the region, and most importantly, to spread awareness that Creole is not just a dialect, but it is a language of identity, resistance, beauty, and power. We will also promote Creole through education, cultural events, musical events, throughout the media platforms, and engage with youth and build pride in the language for the region. Donc, merci beaucoup, and merci en pile.
Okay. Can we give another round of applause, please?
Yes. Woo! Thank you, Seven. I believe protocol has been established by La Grande Dame by just standing here. It's going to make it a little easier, of course, for speakers to head to the podium. Our next speaker here this morning, and why am I speaking English? Huh? May come in. Our next speaker here this morning made headwaves a little earlier this year when he made that bold statement stating that Creole will, of course, be implemented among our schools. And since that statement was made, I know many Creole hearts were in content with that statement. And we are happy today that he's here, ready to be our featured speaker. We now call to the podium Mr. Robert Gist, the Permanent Secretary within the Ministry of Education.
Bonjour tout le monde. Moi, même pas toi. Moi, je la plaine. Moi, maman, moi, pas de parler anglais très fort. Mais, en situation comme ça, et puis tout le monde là, et puis caméra là, moi, je parle anglais. Earlier this year during the DBS reading competition, Prince Wadix asked the question and I responded. And he said that Creole will be introduced in school. He forced me to attempt to repeat it. So I said we will try to get Creole in the schools. I can safely say that while it may not be as he expected, but Creole will be in the schools in September. Well, has been from September. We don't have a protocol list. However, permit me to recognize my fellow colleague, P.S. Letitia Wyke in the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Community Culture, Youth, Sports and Community Development. Prince Wadix, I think, is the brainchild behind this consultation. The esteemed presenters from Keck, Dr. Kimon Joseph, the head of the UWI Open Campus, or the invited guests, the media. Good morning again, bonjour. It is both an honor and with a profound sense of responsibility that I stand today for this critical national consultation. We are here not merely to discuss language, but to deliberate on the very soul of our country, to chart a course for its future, and to affirm the identity of our people. The theme before us is both a mission and, dare I say, a manifesto, legitimizing Creole from vernacular to the vehicle of identity, education, and development. This powerfully frames our task to move our native tongue from the margins of informal conversation to the very center of our normal life, as a bedrock of our identity, a legitimate tool for education, and a catalyst for sustainable development. If I sound like Prince Wadi, forgive me because I listen to him so much on the radio, speaking that Creole and advertising that Creole. So I'm speaking and I'm saying, but to me I heard this already. As Dr. Barry indicated, there was once the false dichotomy that one must choose between Creole or standard English. That embracing one means rejecting the other. As such, Creole was often forbidden at schools. Children were not allowed to speak Creole, especially among the adults. And the adults used Creole to prevent the children from learning, from understanding what they're saying. Fortunately for us, and maybe unfortunately for them, that's how we learn the language, by just listening. This is a fallacy which we must collectively dismantle. Linguistic research and global best practices have shown us that a strong foundation in one's mother tongue is not a barrier to learning additional languages. It is, in fact, the strongest possible launchpad. In fact, that's why when we meet with teachers, we tell them that if you want to help students learn standard English, use the Dominican English, the way the Dominicans speak, to get them to learn the standard English. And just as we tell them, don't prevent the children from speaking the Dominican English, don't prevent the children from speaking the Creole. Don't prevent them from speaking Popoy. Don't prevent them from speaking the Kalinago. And in October, the Ministry of Education celebrates Pride and Heritage Month. And it gives me so much joy when we look at and listen to the Granby children speaking that Creole like it is actually the first language. They speak that language, and sometimes I get goosebumps just listening to those little children speak that Creole, the language that I love so much. I wish I could speak like them. Yes, I am from Lapland. Creole is not only a language. In many villages around Dominica, it is the first language that children hear, the first language that children learn. It is the language of our lullabies, or proverbs, or humor, and or wisdom. Or humor, just say something in English and say the same thing in Creole, and it sounds so much sweeter. It is the code of our homes and the rhythm of our hearts. To deny its value in the formal sphere is to tell our children that the most important, the most intimate part of their identity is not welcome in a place where they go to learn and grow. We cannot and we will not perpetuate this in the Ministry of Education. Legitimizing Creole is an act of cultural justice. It is about affirming to every child that the heritage is valid, the voice is valued, and the identity is a source of strength, not a subject for correction. This is where the mandate of the Ministry of Education becomes indispensable. Our role is to shape a system that reflects the realities and aspirations of our people. We are the bridge between cultural intent and educational implementation. I am proud to stand here today and report that the Ministry of Education has not been idle. The journey of legitimization is already underway. We have worked hand in hand with the dedicated members of the Committee pour Études Creole to develop a draft Creole curriculum This document is a critical first step, providing a structured pathway for integrating our language into the formal learning environment. And to this end, we have Ms. Celestine and Ms. Charlene White-Christian leading the charge on the Ministry of Education side. So they're the focal points for the Creole curriculum within the Ministry of Education. And here are the others, some of the others who have been working on that Creole curriculum. Furthermore, I'm pleased to note the collaboration between CAC and the Ministry of Education to develop a Creole dictionary. This is more than a reference book. It is a foundational pillar for standardization, preservation, and academic rigor. It sends a clear message that Creole has a defined lexicon. It has rules, and it has a place in our schools, in our classrooms. These are not mere documents gathering dust on a shelf. They are the blueprints for a transformative shift in the education landscape. Of course, the path forward is not without its challenges. We have learned from past initiatives. Some of you may recall our short program in the schools, Pause for a Creole Cause, where students during the assemblies or throughout the day, students would stop and just say a little something in Creole. Bonjour, ça contour, ça café, tout la kale. Little things. While its intentions were noble, its execution revealed a critical gap, the confidence and the capacity of our educators. The truth is, not all of our teachers are confident speakers of Creole, and not all of our schools currently have staff equipped to teach it effectively. To simply mandate the teaching of Creole without preparing the teachers would be to set everyone up for failure. Nonetheless, we have readjusted our school's timetable, whereby schools can focus at least 1 hour a day per class to speak Creole. Okay, so if any of you can teach, if you have the time, feel free to visit any of our schools, work with our schools, help the children in cases where the teachers cannot. You are welcome. Call the principal. All doors will be open to you. This is why this consultation is so vital. And this is why our partnership with organizations like CAC and the Creole Heartbeat is so crucial. We must now focus on a robust program of teacher training and resource development. We must build a cadre of confident, competent Creole educators. The reintroduction of a program like Pause for a Creole Cause must be done, and it will be done thoughtfully with a foundation of professional development and sustained support. Where do we go from here? This consultation must be the catalyst for coordinated national effort. We must move with urgency to finalize the draft Creole curriculum and create a phased plan for its implementation. We must prioritize the development and execution of comprehensive training programs for current and our future teachers. Using the new dictionary and curriculum as our guide, we must create engaging textbooks, readers, and digital resources for students. This goes beyond the Ministry of Education. We need our media, our artists, our parents, our community leaders to actively use and celebrate Creole in all spheres of life. Ladies and gentlemen, legitimizing Creole is not the work of the ministry alone. It is a national, or it should be a national project. It requires the passion of advocates, the expertise of our linguists, the dedication of our teachers, and the will of the entire Dominican community. Let us leave this consultation not just with a set of recommendations, but with a shared resolve. Let us transform our Creole from the language of the home to the language of the halls of learning. Let us empower children or people to be truly bilingual, fully grounded in their identity, and equipped to compete and excel on the global stage. Let us make our language a true vehicle for identity, for education, and for development. Thank you. Merci autant, merci en pile. Merci en chai, merci en l'eau.
Merci. Merci encore.
Oh, yes,
Missy,
and thank you
yes.
so very much.
Madam,
You
you know, Mr. Gist just made mention a little earlier. How is it that it's so much, not easier, but you know, it's better communicated when you communicate humor, knowledge, wisdom in Creole. But there's one thing he forgot to mention too, you know, when you communicate love. Wow. I don't believe there's any better language to communicate love other than that of maybe Creole and a little Francais, n'est-ce pas?
You would probably know.
You would know that because you would have communicated that so many times on so many occasions through song. Correct?
Oui, mon papa fait du travail, moi.
Nothing at all. Nothing can compare. So, Mr. Keys, we want to thank you so much again. Let's give him one more round of applause.
Yes. Delightful. At one point, I thought he had been to one of our KEC meetings or something like that. He knew everything that we were talking about.
Yes.
You know? So at least he did the research.
Yes.
You know, and he was right up there. I think we are really very happy to have a person like Mr. Geese at the Ministry of Education. It speaks very well for the schools, the future we can have, you know. We already have much of what he spoke about, but that's not for me to say, except that there is a lot of hope and excitement. So thank you so much. Nous avons ponni hod la plaine et puis toutes ces les autres bons places là où j'avive là. Merci en pile. At this point, sisters and brothers, it is my honor to present a lady who is a passionate cultural advocate and a champion of the Creole language, a long-standing member of the Comité pour Études Creole, and she has been instrumental in promoting the Creole language and heritage through education, media, community engagement, and when you look at her outfit, you will understand what else. She is a former Foreign Affairs officer. Sonia Akpa brings a unique perspective to cultural diplomacy. Her dedication has made her a respected voice in Dominica's cultural landscape, inspiring both young and old to embrace their linguistic and cultural identity. Ladies and gentlemen, our first special speaker, or other special speaker this morning, Sonia Akpa.
Yes, and Ms. Akbar will be speaking on the topic, legitimization of Creole in a multilingual society, the case of Dominica.
Bonjour, merci autant aux filières pour toutes ces fleurs là, ou bamoué là, bon matin là. Ok, moi j'ai travaillé au ministère des Affaires étrangères et puis yo dit moi pas jamais dit protocol has been established, so please bear with me. Permanent secretaries, Monsignor Thomas, head of UE, Global Campus, Dr. Kimon Joseph, and Mr. Barry Kazimi. Director of Alliance Française, Savine Henderson, moderators, presenters, members of KEC, sponsors, Ambassador, how could I should have been first, Ambassador Leroy Wadix Charles, the main person behind this consultation. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. Ladies and gentlemen, both here and online, members of the media, tout le monde Creole, bonjour. Yon jour Wadix qui est moi et puis il dit moi qu'il organiser activité ça. Il m'a demandé pour faire une présentation à un sujet. Moi di Wadix, ouais, moi, octobre ça là. Wadix, moi, pas ni temps. Moi, ni top bagay pour moi faire. Il dit, moi, ok, point 2, 3 jours, 4 chile, et puis, ou que qui est moi vendredi, ou que bah moi réponse. Vendredi, vini, vendredi, aller, moi, pas jamais qui est Wadix. Si men après, Wadix ka voye, on programme ba moi, mardi. Premier non, moi, ka voye, si programme ça là. Sonia Akpa. Qui ça moi ça fait? Bon pas ça dit Wadix non et puis langage créole au fond chez moi. Bon pas ça jamais dit non. Cause anyway, my topic this morning legitimizing Creole in a multilingual society, the case of Dominica. Okay, so if we go to slide 2, multilingualism, let us look at multilingualism. And what defines a multilingual society? You know, Dominica is often referred to as a bilingual country. When you do research on Dominica, you see the official language is English, but they speak a French Creole, or they speak something, all right? Dominica is not a bilingual country. Dominica has more than 2 languages. So what defines a society as multilingual? Multiple languages are actively spoken and coexist in the society. Secondly, multiple languages are used as a means of communication. And then there is linguistic diversity, which could be a result of history, migration, or social changes. If we think about our history, our indigenous people, our first people, Kalinago, slavery is an undeniable part of our history. And they brought with them their customs, their languages, everything that they had. And we all know how Creole was born. Colonization is part of our history by the French and by the British. You take a bat, you ne lot. You take a goumen, ever you ne lot, pour Dominique Sala. But parce que comme fois, you goumen. Anyway, you know what happened at the end. And so all of these aspects of our history has shaped our linguistic journey and the multilingualism that is characteristic of our society today. Then if we look at migration, Mr. Prince is here. Kokoi was born out of migration. We won't go into details because I want to focus on the case of Dominica in a multilingual context. And more recently, we have welcomed immigrants from Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba, and China. So this has also had an impact on our linguistic situation. Est-ce que moun ki ka koute DBS radio le bon matin? Ki moun ki ka koute DBS le bon matin? Levez la maison. Mais ils pas ka koute DBS man. There lies the evidence of multilingualism in our country. Uketan Kalinago word of the day, Prosper Paris. Hazari Paesi, Mwedi Hazari is an expert in Kalinago. Maniela Hazari ka wepete ka banu se mo kweyola ka epele se mo Kalinago a. Hazari se yon expert a poisa. Ebe. Voilà. So look at an Kalinago word of the day. We have news in standard English. Nouvelle en Creole. Look at an nouvelle en Creole. Avec Ewana ou Emilia. Nouvelle en français avec Dion Henderson. Et puis nous ni, how do you say, news in Spanish? Nouvelle en espagnol. So you see all of that mix, that is it, multilingualism. All right, so let us look now at the linguistic situation in Dominica. Slide 3. All right, so we have 4 main, well, let me start by saying that our linguistic situation is a bit more complex than some of the other Caribbean islands due to our unique historical background, geographical location, and societal changes. So Dominica can be described as having a multilingual society with 4 main languages And as you will see, Standard English, which replaced French as the official language in the 18th century. Today, it is the official language. It is used for all administrative purposes. It is a language of the justice system, legal procedures, the main language in the education system, official ceremonies, formal business transactions, and so on. Si on moun parle Creole, en kay parle naman, ki sa yon ni pou fe? Translate right away. So it is not, I would say English is the only language authorized in Parliament, because anything somebody say in Creole, they have to translate it right away. That is the rule, all right? So Standard English. Then we have Creole. Excuse me for the lack of accents. I just couldn't get them. So Dominican Creole is our language, I call it, of the French lexicon-based Creole, spoken by a significant percentage of the population, principally in rural communities. Upekejatan Creole en ozo, mais là où les gouan be case, Penville, ces places là, ou ketan Creole, comme Mouche Giste ka di, ça c'est premier langage, c'est enfants la kapali. We know that Creole derives most of its vocabulary from French, but for the most part, it includes a number of words of African origin, Kalinago, and English borrowings. Well, then we have the African influences in the sentence structure, grammar, and so on. Creole plays a major role in Dominica's rich and diverse culture. It is therefore the predominant language in the celebration of our cultural activities. Creole is the language that connects us to Martinique, Guadeloupe, St. Lucia, Haiti, and other Creole-speaking countries worldwide. And so we move on to Kokoy. Et puis moi bien content voir Mouche Prince ici, puis c'est un homme. Mouche Prince lève pour yo voir. C'est un homme qui fait autant travail pour un Kokoy. So this is an English lexicon-based Creole, spoken in Wesley, Marigot, Clifton, Capuchin, Woodford Hill, okay, a lot of villages in the north. And it is believed that Kokoy was introduced by immigrants from Montserrat and Antigua in the late 19th century, most of whom worked on Dominica's Hatton Garden, Londonderry, and Woodford Hill estates. I think that's from Dr. Honeychurch. And so we have Kokoy in those areas, and currently I think not enough attention is being paid to the development of this language. We need to do more. If we go on to, well, the Kalinago language, I am not aware that it is spoken as we speak Creole or Dominican English and so on. But we just spoke about the Kalinago word of the day, so some work is being done, especially by Prosper Paris, to sort of revive that Kalinago language. But we do use a lot of Kalinago words in our Creole. And I'll quote Dr. Lennox Honeychurch, Dominican Creole people are still one of the greatest users of island Carib words because of the late arrival of Europeans in Dominica. This includes proper and common nouns, such as place names, trees, and animals. And as we said, an effort is now being made to revive the language. Now we come to Dominican English. And I have to say here, as a linguist, I know some people talk about bad English. I refer to no form of communication as bad or broken, okay? And that's my stance on that. So Dominican English is different from Standard English, and we can see that clearly visible in the phonology, syntax, grammar, and in our idiomatic expressions. One can also detect a marked dissimilarity between Dominican English as spoken in Roseau and environs and that of rural Dominican speakers. The vocabulary includes a large number of Creole and Kalinago words and expressions, and the syntax shows evidence of a direct translation from Creole. Like Creole, Dominican English is used in many situations, sometimes private, most informal. We've used it our writers use it in short stories, poetry, and so on. Si moi cuisine moi ka fait quelque chose. Et puis Delia passe, il dit hey Sonia bonjour, what you doing there now? And I said, Delia, I dare we color in some fig for me to put in a broth. Somebody who is not familiar with Creole or who is not, you pick a couple. So when sometimes they refer to it as a variety of English, you mun ki ka parler anglais tout seul. You pick a couple and see me Delia, I dare color in some fig to put in a broth. Because that's what we do. We take the Creole word, we add ing to it, et puis nous finissons. And we finish with that. Yes. You there chocho in the clothes, wash the clothes properly. You know? Or I come and help me, I dare guaye in to open that door. C'est quoi ça nous qu'a dit? All right? And then they say, rain falling, sun shining. But why the weather tie up so now? You see where that comes from. Rain falling, l'applicatobe. Sun shining, soleil ka clewe. Why the weather tie up like that? Me put it on my way, consa. Somebody who is not Creole speaking will not understand when you say the weather tie up. We have to give them a translation in standard English. Okay, so I could go on and on with Dominican English, but I'll stop here. So we can go on to the legitimization of a language. So what are the necessary steps for legitimization of a language? Now, we have already established that Creole is a language, so that we agree on. We're going to look at what is required for legitimization of a language in a multilingual society. Qui ça nous ni pour faire pour ba langue la plus valée dans la société? Social recognition. The language must be recognized socially. And I say social recognition and public acceptance, I'll put them together. Thankfully, Creole is more accepted in Dominica right now. Mr. Guy spoke about the past and what we went through as Creole-speaking people. So we have made some progress. Institutional recognition. The language must be adopted by institutions like government for official use in the education system, and authorizing its use in formal situations, and not just limited to informal situations. Where Mouche Gizdi, si ka pale eve maman ou papa ou qui servi Creole, mais là où toutes ces caméras là et puis toutes ces moun là qui là, ils passent à faire, pour parler anglais. Nous on est pour parler plus Creole dans situation comme ça, c'est comme ça nous que apprendre. Hein? Ou que moi de langue. All right. Legislative recognition. I am not sure that there are any laws, I may be wrong, I'm not sure, governing language use in Dominica. I am not sure that there is, but in a lot of countries there are laws governing language use in Dominica, and that is also part of the legitimization process. Use in formal and public domains, as I just mentioned, and inclusion in a national language policy. Do we have a national language policy? Again, I do not think we have a national language policy. A national language policy would define all the languages that we use and how we use them and so on. Okay, so that is very important. So let us go on to the case of Dominica and the status of Creole. All right, so we will look at the status of Creole, legitimization process, the challenges, and then I will conclude with some recommendations. So, status of Creole. Of course, Mr. Gies has already given us a lot to think about. We said that already, widely spoken in rural communities. It is an integral part of Dominica's culture. Nous pas à parler kilti Dominique si nous pas parler Creole. Musique nous, Creole. Danser nous, c'est Creole. Manger nous, c'est Creole. Had nous, c'est Creole. Est-ce que ça dit wop douillet en anglais? Est-ce que ça dit jip en anglais? Est-ce que ça dit jipon? Jipon, petticoat? No, jipon c'est pas petticoat. You're different, you understand? So everything to do with our culture, we have no choice. Our language and our culture just very tied together. There is limited literary work in Creole. I would say the first publication I know of entirely in Creole is a translation of the Book of St. Luke by deceased Sister Evelina John Phillip. She translated the entire Gospel of Luke in Creole, and it is in a book. Of course, we have some publications that Keck and Mr. Lawrence will talk a little more about that. There are a few books I know. There is a book for children by Grace, and another one by Mara. I don't remember her name, but it's a very, very interesting book for children. Dominic same way. But it's in English and Creole, but it's a very interesting book. So our literary work is limited, although I think the Cultural Division has put together, for a number of years, they put together in a booklet poetry and short stories in Creole. And that, I think, is available at the Cultural Division. Let us look now at use in media. I would say radio and television are the main forms of media that Creole is used. Now we see it a little more in social media, but we will look at that in a little more detail a little later on. As Mr. Gis indicated, the education system, well, there was a pilot project introduced in primary schools, and I'm hoping that we will be able to expand on that. Somebody mentioned, well, I think Dr. Kazimi mentioned classes at UE. Classes have also been held in Creole at Alliance Française. So at those institutions, you have introduction of Creole. I would say Creole is still not accepted as a language by a minority. There are still people who are fighting this Creole language and do not accept that it is a language. But I would say that these people are in the minority right now. Is the language of communication with other Creole-speaking countries. I always say to people, nous pas ça jamais changer. Là, bon Dieu, mettez Dominicain. Nous, et si Martinique yon côté, Guadeloupe yon côté, we have no choice. In the days of long ago, I remember people, when I was a little girl, people from the north, Capuchin, Cottage, and so on, yo pas de vini Ozo, faire commission, yo te kale Marie-Galante, yo te kale Guadeloupe, pour gagner toute commission yo, ponti bateau, aller gagner bagay yo, et puis vivre Dominique. All right, I assume the same thing happened in the south. It's closer to Martinique. So we are linked. We have no choice. Nous, c'est ça, c'est langage là qui a mette nous ensemble, langue créole. And last thing I would say is that it is not officially recognized as a national language. Sometimes when I speak about Creole, I say it's our national language. Our national language, but there's nothing official that says that Creole is our national language. And while we were at it, if Creole is officially named a national language, well, Kokoi also we need to give consideration. All right, so we can go on now to the legitimization process. Ministre d'Éducation, bonjour, bienvenue. Vous also have more teacher at Dominica Grammar School. Yes. Moi, je goûter comment parler français. C'est français? Eh bien, c'est ça. Okay. Welcome. So we're looking at the legitimization process. Next slide. Technology is failing us. Okay, we can. We'll go on. We'll go on still to save time. So the legitimization of Creole is a process. It's not something that you just do boom, epifini evesa. It happens over time. So I want to look at two areas: the social process, and then we look at the linguistic process. So the social process involves raising the status of the language, greater acceptance by its speakers, and development of a favorable attitude to the language. And I dare say that the process of legitimization of Creole began with Mr. E.O. Leblanc of blessed memory. As Premier of Dominica, his recognition of the importance of Creole, particularly in our culture, has to be recorded. because I think that is where the push for Creole and recognition of our culture started with E.O. Leblanc. The introduction of cadence music in the 70s, and we have our grande dame de chanson antillaise, A.C. Evenou, Ophelia Olivache Marie, but Gordon Henderson will elaborate on that later on. Cadence music and how it helped to elevate the status of Creole. We spoke about the use of Creole in the media, and I have to say that DBS has been at the forefront in the fight for standardization of Creole from the early 70s with the introduction of Creole in specific programs, okay? And some of these programs have remained up to today. So we have our Experience Creole that Felix Henderson started à Chelma Milia et puis Kewana, qui a continué avec Experience Creole. We have, as you mentioned, Nouvelle en Creole. We have Mo Creole by Kek in the afternoons. All of that on DBS. Q95 recently started Movement Creole, which is a program that is sort of organized by Kek members. Every Tuesday evening, we have a guest, we have an animator, and then we have guests, and we just talk about different topics. Movement Creole on Q95 on a Tuesday. Wadix, Creole Heartbeat. Wadix Ever Creole, yo kon sa. Ou pas ça séparé. So Wadix, merci en pile pour tout travail là ou qu'a fait pour hausser le langage créole en Dominique. Then I think GIS has a program, Développement Dominique, avec Geno Jacob. Ou là, yo ka ba nouvelle, ça qui a fait Dominique. Tous ces ministres là, yo ka vini, yo ka parler, quand ça qui a fait en communauté, yo ka parler en créole. Et ça ka douci tchèm. Ça, c'est progrès que nous avons fait. JMO News, oui, qui est nouvelle en créole à présent. Vous savez ça? MO News, ni nouvelle en créole, elle lous. Parce que lous viwe, elle nouvelle en créole, à sous MO News. Merci, MO News. Moi, content avec ça. Okay, I think another program on DBS that I think they still do La Voix de l'Évangile. Mon Dieu, la voix de l'évangile. Pas aujourd'hui, non? Depuis l'année, moi, même savent. Mais aussi, la voix de l'évangile. In the print media, there's not much. There's not much at all in the print media. Now and again, you see a little something. Pas j'ai rien. Et les check follow, maniela, yoka écrit que là, you pada, PS. Social media, I see more people doing TikTok, little things on Facebook and YouTube and so on. So we're getting there. Then we can look at institutionalization of Journée Creole, Semaine Creole, Heritage Day, and so on. All of these are, pushing the language forward. The World Creole Music Festival, but I have question marks by that one. What is Usav Deja? But it's supposed to, when it started, Creole was the main language. And et puis moi content Wadix organiser activité ça. Puis avant tant festival là, nous t'ai toujours ni yon consultation avec moun Martinique, Guadeloupe, Haïti, Jik Seychelles, nous t'ai venir, nous t'ai joindre, nous t'ai parler contre langage là, qui ça nous a fait pour langage là ensemble, nous t'ai fait. Okay, so Wadix many have viewed. Merci Wadix. Okay, so we spoke about the focus on Creole in cultural activities. We have the conte, short story competitions, music, dance, drama, and so on. Creole en l'église. Nous avons plus Creole en l'église actuellement. Moi, je suis l'église catholique, je passe pour d'autres, mais c'est père, Monsignor Thomas, Monsignor John Louis. Yo pas ka même Father Karam, si vous entendez Father Karam parler créole, il ka parler créole comme ça. Father Elvio. So we are hearing more Creole in the churches and in our songs and so on. And not just at Independence time. They used the Creole. So that is also something that pushes Creole up. And now in formal addresses, you might hear a little more Creole. All right, so that is looking at the social process. Now let's look at the linguistic process. All right, so there we are. So KEC. KEC was established over 40 years ago. I'm not going to say much. Mr. Lawrence will speak to KEC. But I just want to pause to remember people like Alwyn Bully, Felix Henderson, Jamala Fontaine, Anita James. And Gregory Rabes is not here with us. Sonia Lloyd of blessed memory. Gregory Rabes is not here with us. But these people have been working from the 80s with KEC. And Mr. Lawrence will speak to that. The development of a Creole orthography since September 1981. In your manière pour écrire Creole, vous savez, since September 1981. All right, that was one of the main things in the linguistic process that gave value to the Creole language. Then there was increased research on Creole by linguists and other scholars. The use of Creole in local literature, that a little more. Introduction of Creole in schools, Magali will speak to that. And then we spoke already about UE and introduction of Creole as a subject. And then last year, DBS launched Creole speech competition for the first time. Epionion, Deme, where students of secondary schools, they speak on a topic. It was amazing. C'était belle, tout le monde mal last year. Moi, j'étais un juge, et puis c'est pourtant ces enfants qui parlaient créole, comme ça, sans problème. It was beautiful. So congrats again to DBS. Creole Spelling Bee, organized by KEC. I don't know what year we're in now. But I always say, si ces petits enfants ça là, ça apprend manière là, nous ka écrit créole. Et parler créole. Les check fois moi dit mais il pas capable les man. Comment qui les nous ka les sortir ici? Because you just throw the words out at them and they say, si yo ça fait et puis moun moi faire effort. Because it can be done, you know? It can be done. All right. So we can move on to our recommendations. So how do we move forward to achieve legitimization of Creole? So the process has started, all of the things I mentioned, but there is more that we can do. We need to develop confidence in speaking Creole so that we have more fluent Creole speakers. Mr. Giss is laughing. It's confidence. Sometimes it's confidence, you know. We don't have the confidence. Nous ça parler, you savent. Mais nous paie. Si nous faisons l'air, ouais, moun ke, oui, non. Nous n'y pour faire l'air, là, nous ke dit, c'est pas comme ça ou ka dit, Monsieur Giss. C'est comme ça ou n'y pour faire. You understand? So we need to develop confidence in speaking Creole. And the only way we can do that is if we speak it more in all kinds of forums. Parler Creole, and parler Creole là. Wider knowledge of the orthography. Just people need to know how to write and how to spell Creole. Moun ka ki moi pi di ou octobre ça là tous les jours à ce phone moi. Mrs. Akpa how to write so and so. Mrs. Akpa how to spell so and so. Mais moun moi il pas word. Zo ça fait si c'est tes enfants là ça apprendre ni comme ça. Tout le monde ça apprendre. All right? So the Creole orthography and then mastery of the written language. If we know the orthography, then we will be able to write the language. I think we need a formal institution to deal with all aspects of the Creole language. Quelqu'un travaille, ça l'argent, nous avons fait ça nous paie, but we need, for example, new words are coming into a language every day. Tant COVID, ou ça combien mots nous joignent avec COVID ça là? I'm not sure how the media, how they were giving the announcements and so on. Maybe they had to. But you see, all of those things and all of the modern concepts that we have right now, we need an institution to say, well, okay, we look at it. This is, this is the word we're going to use, this is the word we're going to use, and so on. You know, a simple thing like cell phone. Ini moun ka servi cell phone, yo ka di mo pet cell phone me. But ini moun ka servi portable, right? Which is an importation from the French islands. But it is, right now, it is integrated. So nous pas ça dit, c'est pas portable, c'est cell phone. We now have to include two of them. You know, things like that. So we need an institution to deal with the new words as new concepts arise. And we need greater use of Creole at the national level. We need greater use of Creole at the national level and official recognition of Creole. Pas pour Creole. I mean, when the October, September, October, November, Creole, 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 Creole. Le Novembre fini, Creole fini bat. Si moi aime ma tête moi. Si moi ma tête moi comme ça, and I try my head from January to December. Eh, but you early for Creole day, man. No. Ça c'est bagay moi aimé. You understand? Moi ça porter ça, c'est pas jodi seulement money pour porter had Creole. Si moi voulais porter had ça là, moi de ça, moi ka porter. Si moi le parler Creole, n'importe côté, moi qui parler Creole. We need to use more the language a little more, and official recognition, government, minister ici avec nous, permanent secretaries. Nous need to faire please. We need to. I wish Creole would be recognized as a national language, because it would give it, you know, and that would be ultimate legitimization. National language, it has to be recognized. And of course, Mr. Giz gave us a lot more recommendations, training. Delia and I have trained teachers for the primary school program. We need to do more of that. He spoke about it has to be a national project with the entire Dominican community. Tout le monde vini joindre nous, à nous travailler ensemble pour nous hausser langage créole, pour nous battre langage créole, clivaler. Merci autant.
Merci Yoshai, Madame Akpa, pour présentation ça là. Merci. Donc, elle continue, mais avant, je vais faire toute présentation qui nous gagne chaque 10 minutes pour présenter. Comme nous pas ni temps, and forgive my mélange entre le français et le créole. Sometimes when I get the opportunity, I take an advantage. All right, so once again, just want to remind our presenters that you will each have 10 minutes to present, as I am going to take this opportunity to present our next speaker, which we will connect with via Zoom. Just simply see, messieurs, pile l'amour, capalé à sous créole en Saint-Lucie, et puis voilà, qui créole ni, identité guilty. So we will, of course, be joining Dr. Kenshri Jean-Pierre, who will be speaking on the topic Creole in St. Lucia, structure and its role as a cultural identity marker. Comme ça, nous avons un spécial bonjour à Dr. Jean-Pierre.
Zoké dit nous à qui l'équipe parle. Mon quoi jala ka attend nous, hein? Is he there? Can we see him yet? Okay, well, the doctor. Yes, sir. Nuka well. Bonjour. Good day to you.
Comme on dit, tout à l'heure là, moi j'ai 10 minutes seulement pour parler. Moi vais essayer de ça, moi je voulais dire à 10 minutes ça là. Premier bail, moi voulais remercier Wadix pour qu'il invite moi à la présentation ça là. Il m'a demandé de parler à son rôle Creole cette ici à dans identité culturelle. Bon, on va aller. Legitimizing Creole. Ça, c'est sujet consultation ça là. Bon, ça veut dire ça. Creole pas légitime. Ou quoi, yon Jean l'Angleterre, et bien yon Jean France, quand il tient une consultation à ce manière pour faire anglais, et bien français légitime. Et bien, Creole légitime. C'est ça, moi, dit. Il pas battre. Et quand il tout droit et puis obligation yon langue. Et que là, on a parlé de morphologie, phonologie, syntaxe, sémantics, pragmatics, tout se bagay ça. Creole là, pas kon Henry Bryn. Yo gouverneur cette place attend ancien, te dit. Et te dit Creole là, c'est uneducated speech. The French language stripped of its manly, dignified ornaments and travestied for the accommodation of children and toothless old women. Bon, l'année l'autre grand linguiste, mon frère non c'était Max Weinrich, qui te déclaré qui en langage c'est un dialecte qui n'est en l'almé et puis matelot derrière. Bon, nous parlons l'almé, mais ça nous dit c'est pouvoir social et pouvoir politique. Et nous avons servi ni pouvoir social et puis pouvoir politique pour faire que là, il y a un langage officiel. Nous n'y pouvons faire ça. Il y a un langage officiel sans validation de l'autre monde. Bon, en nous cas des situations cette lycée. Depuis un temps haïtien, cette lycée tenait en vie attitude concernée Creole. En l'idée, Creole c'était langage d'habitation, genre genre qui pas indiqué. En l'idée, Creole te ka affecté manière moun te ka parler anglais, et ben te ka empêcher moun parler anglais. Et vous savez, te ka considérer anglais c'est langage ou à l'Angleterre. Mais pour tout ça, majorité cette lycée qui a parlé ni créole ni anglais. Malgré l'année ça qui est plus fort et bien plus faible, à l'anglais et bien à créole là. C'est des langages là, moi je veux dire après ça, yo pas à même niveau. Anglais c'est langage officiel cette lycée. Et puis créole là c'est langage national. Mais ça veut dire ça, le langage national. Mais c'est quoi? Nous toujours qu'à dire. Nous avons une situation côté pli à pli. Là, il y a moins de qui a parlé seulement créole. Réseau ça là, réseau FRC, ça c'est Folk Research Center, cette lycée. Raison pour ça, FRC a dit, c'est plus, premièrement, l'année plus monde qui attend l'école, et puis c'est anglais qui est le langage éducation cette lycée. Malgré ces jours là, l'année un projet côté, il y a montré maman li écrit créole à cette l'école là. Deuxièmement, FRC a dit que radio et puis télévision a influencé mes affaires, moi qui a parlé seulement créole. Et puis troisièmement, moun ka naviguer plus à deux pays même et puis l'autre pays aussi. Situation ça a changé, mais créole a son camp toujours. Situation a changé à cause du travail FRC même, Folk Research Center, particulièrement les venus pour organisation Journée Créole cette lycée. Cette lycée est mes Journée Créole. C'est ça qui peut être plus grand festin culturel cette lycée. À même niveau et puis Noël et puis Jazz and Arts Festival. Et pour ça, c'est des festins ça, c'est go festin. L'année, en chaque autre raison, attitude de monde a changé concernant les créoles. Mon kay ba yonde l'autre c'est réseau ça là. Premièrement, l'année yon dictionnaire créole cette ici. Et dictionnaire créole ça là est bon marché et puis un chaque monde ka servi. Ça c'est un bail qui bien important. Et bon marché qui fait monde ça acheter et puis yo ka servir. À part de ça, là, il y a plusieurs autres dictionnaires sur Internet là. L'autre bagaille, cette lycée, yo changé règle kay site pour permettre membre parlement pour expliquer quoi en créole. Ça bien important. Yo pas supposé faire un point en créole. Yo ka fait point en anglais et puis si vous voulez, yo ka expliquer en créole. Troisièmement, département d'éducation des programmes à l'école grand monde et puis à l'école petit monde ka instruit monde les écrire créole. Quatrièmement, l'année programme créole a sonné télévision ni radio. Nous dans une situation aussi côté moun ka écrit livre en créole, moi-même ka écrit livre en créole. Moun ka chanter en créole. Il ka chanter calypso, soca et puis l'autre chanson en créole. La JIC ni yon compétition chanson créole. Compétition ça a été tient semaine passée là. Là regarder musique là même. Nous ka wè côté jeune moun cette de ces JIC invité yon qualité musique neuf, musique créole neuf. Ça évacuer dernier segment. Et puis est bien populaire tout partout dans cette lycée. Allez radio et puis télévision aussi. L'année plusieurs publicités créole. Et puis un autre bail qui est bien important c'est Nouveau Testament. Il publie en créole cette lycée. Et puis, plus en plus, l'Église qu'a servi. Ça bien important. L'Église qu'a servi. Nouveau Testament, les moun aller la messe. Bon, l'année, il y a des études qui étaient faites à cette situation langage cette lycée. Et puis, ces études, ça a montré qui l'année, il y a l'anglais cette lycée. L'anglais 7 DC. Pas l'anglais formal, mais l'anglais 7 DC qui plutôt jeune monde en ville qui parler. Yon se étude ça là, ka des attitude teacher qui ka travaille et ben qui a étudié sur Arthur Lewis Community College. C'est grand l'école cette lycée. Il a regardé, et ça a regardé attitude yo, qui a concerné anglais cette lycée, et puis créole. Bon, qui ça étude ça a montré? Étude ça a montré que cette lycée qui a embrassé créole plusieurs de jours, passé, yo te ka fait, check temps passé. Alors, il a montré cette lycée qui a embrassé créole passé, yo ka accepter anglais cette lycée. À part de ça, malgré la majorité teacher accepter service créole à dans l'école là, yo pas assez oui qui bénéfice ça te kay mené ba yo et ben ba c'est maman là. Bon, vous te mentionné yo projet côté yo te ka montrer maman li écrit l'école cette lycée. Projet ça a commencé l'année passée. Selon le gouvernement libanais, Creole, c'est un gros pas dans l'histoire de cette lycée. Qui a baillé cette lycée et puis cette lycée identité. Projet a fait possible et bien a fait assurer maman nous apprendre tradition et puis l'histoire qui fait possible pour nous ça résister colonisation. À dans projet ça là, maman ka tient les sessions et ben teacher ka tient les sessions en créole pour 30 minutes deux fois par semaine à la grade K, grade Yon et puis grade 3. Grades K, 1 and 3. Ça m'a trouvé c'est ni teacher, ni c'est étudiant, ni bon bagaille pour dire à ce projet ça là. Comment ça a renforcé obligation du gouvernement pour intégrer Creole là à dans curriculum national là. Bon, moi comme on a parlé en chaye, 10 minutes moi quoi, peut-être à passer, qu'on a mon de bout. Merci un peu.
Merci un peu, Dr. Kendry Junior Pierre. Et puis nous comptons entendre contre Créole, Sainte-Lucie et situation. Et il pas en bataille, il est légitime. Like ours, I am sure. It is a delight for me to also be able to introduce Mr. Gordon Henderson, who is our next speaker. No problem with that, I would think. We know that he is often hailed as the godfather of Cadence Lypso. He is one of Dominica's most celebrated cultural icons. He created Cadence Lypso, and because of this creation, the language of Creole is right up. We have taken, I say we because I am one of those that he influenced, we have taken Creole to the world en musique à nous. Et nous contents, moins contents, pour me demander M. Gordon Henderson, qui c'est en légende, en pays nous, en latin nous, qui n'est en vision, en artistrie, et puis en advocacy culturelle, si on ça dit comme ça, pour adresser nous, Mr. Gordon Henderson.
Merci, merci, la grande dame. Merci. OK. Pour moi, il est 17h27. 5:27 p.m. So I think I should end by 5:37. Les moi étaient tout petit à l'école. Yo pas te vraiment parler créole. C'est anglais, français et espagnol. Oui, 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 oui. Today, I think that I have a very vast topic to deal with. It is titled The Creole Language and Music. It's very vast, but I'll try to dwell on one aspect that I think is very important. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to tell you a story about twins, jumeaux or jumelles. Of course, they were born of the same parents, probably at the same time, at the same place, and in the Caribbean. These twins are not human. They are languages. One is the Creole spoken language, my mother tongue, and the other is a Creole musical language, my life. We must have heard that music is a universal language, so we're not surprised that a tongue and a language and a music, these are all languages. Now together, to me, these twins, they constitute our Caribbean identity. And I would argue they are probably the most underappreciated twins that anyone can think about. For over 500 years, these twins have lived side by side, but many people have always treated them as the lesser as inferior. I like to listen to linguists, and many of them like to disagree, but I like to listen to those that agree and disagree. And they have a word when they speak of that condition, and they call it diglossia. Now, some people might say that this is a rare word, that is a strange word. But when I go around the Creole world, be it in the Indian Ocean, Martinique, Guadeloupe, next door, I hear them speak about diglossie. But if we have a simpler word with less than 3 syllables, I will adopt it because it is a real condition. And these linguists define it something like when two languages share the same space, but one is treated like the high, the H language, and the other is treated like the L, the low. That's what they call diglossia. And in our colonial societies, well, in the pre-colonial times, and even today, we have noticed that in the Caribbean, English, French, Spanish, these languages have been considered the H, and sadly, Creole, the L. And Creole has been tolerated at one time in the kitchens, at the marketplace, but silenced in some homes, in schools. That's what I was singing about for those who didn't understand my introduction in song. In the courthouse, which is important for justice, on radio stations. And this is where I would like to say hats off to Mr. Dennis Joseph, because we hear many names about DBS. Well, that's the man who introduced it. But it's still a problem because the Creole language is still ghettoized. It's not part of the narrative. The 24 hours, there's always a little section. So the linguists, with their strange word diglossia, is one of the problems that we have to eradicate, even if and before we decide to teach children. Because diglossia is a little more than high language and low language. Diglossia demonizes the low language. The Creole has been banned from churches for a long time. And even now, you hear a few Creole songs of worship, but this is it's rare. It's rare. Creole can be heard at carnival time, but even carnival itself has been, and this is something that we adopted from Europe, this carnival. We brought in some of the latest soca-styled music, we have jab jab from Grenada. And when I speak of demonizing, jab jab is nothing than diab diab. They call it in Haiti diab diab. The Grenadians call it jab jab. We have it at carnival time. I don't remember how we call it, but people are all black in molasses or tar or whatever. And so the carnival, the Creole demonized. I'm keeping track of time. You know, in the Lesser Antilles, I am Dominican, and I am, how do they call us? Baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer. So I was in my youth during the days of the West Indies or West Indian Federation, and we were very much influenced by Trinidad. And up to this day, what they call calypso in Dominica is the Trinidad form of calypso from about 1910, when they started recording, to about 1950 through 70, when the youth of the 70s modernized the calypso and gave it a name. I figure for marketing reasons. They call it soca. Soca is like ka. So soca, it's very much linked, but people decided that calypso is only. But I am saying this for a reason. Calypso began in the Creole language. Calypso commençait en Creole. People think that this is a subject that we shouldn't speak about, but we certainly should. And in Trinidad, at the time, the Creole language was the lingua franca, meaning that everybody spoke it. It was the language of law, the language of business. And when the British took over, they institutionalized the fact that they must demonize and stop people from speaking Creole. They got teachers from Barbados that was never colonized by the French to come with their rhotic action or Bergeron and so on and try to make them learn to speak English. Anyway, my time has come. There are loads of things. I'm very talkative. Thank you very much, Creole Heartbeat, UE, and all of that. This is so timely, and there's a lot. But don't forget, we have to eradicate diglossia. Thank you very much.
All right. Merci, un grand merci à Gordon Henderson pour présentation sur la merci. Quand nous avons continué, nous avons invité une autre présentatrice, enfin, tout ça là, c'est une femme, nous avons invité pour parler à ce créole en système éducation, plutôt créole en système l'école, nous, en pays. And so we'll call our next speaker, who is a distinguished educator, registrar, and passionate Creole advocate from Benz, Dominica. With over 20 years of service, she currently serves as Exams Education Officer at the Ministry of Education and Local Registrar for CXC. She holds advanced degrees from the University of Paris 3, Sorbonne Nouvelle, and UE Open Campus, a proud member of KEC, and co-author of Anu Apwan Creole. Miss Celestine has played a pivotal role in promoting language, education, and safeguarding Dominica's Creole heritage, inspiring generations of students and educators alike. Ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter on the topic, Creole in the school system, Miss Magali Celestine.
Merci en pile, Milia, avec Gwandam Creole, Madame Ophelia. Bonjour tout le monde. I want to recognize the presence of my minister, Mrs. Honorable Octavia Alfred, PS White, PS Gis must have stepped out. Ambassador Wadix, thank you so much for this consultation. It is very, very timely. And all the Creole people in the house, welcome, bienvenue. Today I'm here to speak about the status of Creole in schools. And when Wadik sent me the topic, I told myself, legitimizing Creole. Creole is a legitimate language that has not been given its rightful position in Dominica. It has its own syntax, its semantics, phonetic system, idiomatic expressions, tenses, verbs, adjectives, nouns, and the list goes on, just like English, French, Spanish, and all the many languages that we are familiar with. Rossi Landy, I suppose to have a slide coming up soon. Rossi Landy said, young children learn their language and culture from the society they were born in. In the process of learning, they develop their cognitive abilities as well, and this is so very true. Studies have shown that nurturing a child's home or native language has immense benefits, not only to the child's cultural and metacognitive development, but also to the learning and mastery of a second language. In addition, nurturing a child's first language contributes to confidence building and a strong cultural identity. So it is against this theoretical backdrop that the Ministry of Education, in collaboration with the Comité Poétique Creole, CEC, are partnering together to ensure that the Creole language is kept alive in Dominica from one generation to the next. And what better institution to tap into to be able to reach the youth of our beautiful nature isle than our schools managed by the Ministry of Education. The reality is most people can speak Creole, but they cannot write it. And the school system will address this issue. The teaching and learning of any language or subject must be guided by a curriculum or a syllabus. So we're on slide 3. The Creole language is no exception. And this curriculum was prepared by members of CEC, myself and Mrs. Charlene White Christian, and we have handed it to all our schools so that they can follow. It's a guide. They can know what content to teach, at what grade level, and the progression from one grade to the next. So we standardize the process across our schools. The Creole Curriculum Guide was completed in 2019, and it was developed to facilitate the learning of the language and to standardize the content across schools. It aims to ensure that all primary school students, as well as secondary, and anybody, as a matter of fact, who study Creole will be able to discover the similarities and differences between the English language and the Creole language, apply linguistic knowledge to understand and communicate using basic concepts of Creole, foster pupils' appreciation of Creole and of learning language in general, and develop awareness of and respect for fundamental values that are common to all Creole societies. The curriculum guide is an 80-page document designed to develop all the competencies of the learner: speaking, reading, writing, and listening. But it focuses mainly on the oral competency in Creole. And of course, the phonetics and the syntax, the semantics, and all the writing patterns will come in. This approach will allow for the uninhibited development of the oral skill, leading to more confident speakers. The Ministry of Education recognizes that the success of such an approach is based on the linguistic competencies of the primary school teacher or teachers in general, and their ability to provide students with a variety of real-life situations and opportunities to practice the language concept. So if the individual is not competent enough, they will not be able to pass on the information appropriately. Hence, we have embarked on training of teachers. And CEC, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, has trained teachers as of 2019. 19 primary school teachers were trained. from 19 primary schools, because that is the year we started the pilot program of the curriculum. Unfortunately, COVID-19 came and it disrupted the pilot, but that resumed in 2024 with the addition of secondary schools being encouraged by our dear minister to create Creole clubs and showcase the Creole language during assembly on the school compound as much as possible. So the 19 primary school teachers, they were trained in Creole and national identity, the importance of teaching Creole to primary school students, basic Creole expressions, teaching of Creole, the methods and strategies, storytelling, proverbs and poetry in the Creole classroom, Dominican Creole traditions and customs, strategies for the teaching of Creole as a second language. Along with the curriculum guide, teachers have access to various publications of the Comité Poétique Creole. So we have, for example, L'Histoire Creole. It's a publication of short stories in Creole. Mi Bredex, a collection of Dominican Creole expressions. Chante Dominicain, a publication of Dominican songs in Creole written by Alan Gamble. And Powell Kadi, an anthology of short stories and poems. So all of those are materials that can be used in the classrooms to beef up the content that is being delivered to students. We also have a publication. There are 3 authors on there. I am one of those, and our lovely Madame Akpa and Mrs. Charlene White Christian. This is another publication of Kek, Anu Apwan Creole. It is a text that is designed to assist teachers with the teaching and learning process, students and teachers, whoever it is, any Dominican who wishes to fix up their Creole, if they need to start, if they need to do the writing, this book will definitely assist. It is sold at Jay's and it's online, so grab your copy today. The Anu Apon Creole serves as a basic guide for teaching and learning the Creole language, and it focuses on both the oral and written aspects. It will allow learners to interact with each other as they learn the language through a number of activities, including identifying objects in photographs and illustrations, role-playing through short dialogues, and self-testing by working on simple exercises. There are sections in the text called Me Dominic Nu, which highlights our rich culture and heritage. So they're not only learning words, but they are also learning about our food, our dress, our music, and so on. In terms of development in our schools, well, we've already started a Pause for Creole cause in 2023. As of 2025, the announcement was made that Creole, along with Kalinago and Kokoy, are now scheduled on our timetables at all primary schools. And we are starting with primary, but eventually it will go to the secondary schools as well. So this is a very, very big movement for us. It is now established on our school timetables, and it is being taught 1 hour per week. So that is a great start. In October 2025, we've seen lots of videos from the Castleboro Secondary School, for example, where they have more Creole. So we already have more Creole on DBS radio, and now schools are adopting it and making it a big thing at their school to sensitize the children, and we really, really appreciate those initiatives. Keck has a lot of work in progress. We are working on the Creole dictionary to accompany our texts and materials that we are preparing. It is about 75% completed. And we also have a draft form of a language policy. So that is something we really need to tighten up on and make sure it is completed. The teaching and learning of Creole in our schools serve as a catalyst for the preservation of Dominican heritage and folklore. Messieurs, mesdames, avant, mettre l'école, te ka bat enfants en lakou l'école pour le langage créole. Et bien, jodi jou, mettre l'école ka emboîser le langage créole. Et bien, pour ça, moi bien content. So what is the status of Creole in schools in Dominica in a nutshell? We have the Creole curriculum guide. We have started the training of teachers. We have the ANUAP 1 Creole publication. We have more Creole, both on the radio and in schools. We have timetabled Creole sessions. We have the Creole dictionary, soon to be completed. The language policy, soon to be completed. So it's a work in progress. Ever messieurs, mesdames, c'est derrière travail qui n'y travail. The harvest is ripe and the laborers are few. So we have to continue the training of teachers at all levels, primary, secondary, preschool, college, UE, everybody, because it's a collective effort. We have to prepare more materials, worksheets, teaching aids, not only in Creole, but also in Kokoy and in Kalinagu. We also have to develop a digital app to accompany the publication Anu App on Creole, because a lot of people are saying they would like to hear the pronunciation, so that is something, a work in progress. We have to complete our Creole dictionary. We have to erect bilingual signs, not only at our schools, in English and Creole, but also island-wide, to encourage a total immersion. Let people be bombarded with the language wherever they go. And I am making a special call to all our families. Speak Creole at home. Promote it on a daily basis. That is how we can get our young people to really speak it. I'm amazed when I go to Granby and I see little children speaking their Creole at ease. That is how it's supposed to be round the nature aisle. So please, we are encouraging each one of us to play our part. Anu leve lang Creole. Merci.
Fantastique, fantastique.
Si mon tan Gouambe mentionné yon fois encore, monsieur. Yeah. No, I'm telling you, it makes me so proud, to be a Granbarian. Yes, I.
Neuke longi.
Hey, jalong, eh?
Yes, Magali, thank you so very much. Magali is one of the members of KEC. I have to say it. Everybody who was sitting at the front, and you will see the others in a while, belong to KEC. That's why I feel my nose getting long, because I'm a member of KEC, and Zolawi Zobon Mem Mokawi Messizo. We have been to Paris, we have been to St. Lucia, we are in Dominica. We're going back to France, and this time it is to meet Lina Luc. She's a Dominican educator based in Paris, France. She holds a master's degree in Creole studies. She too is a member of KEC, and she has dedicated her career to promoting Creole language and culture within academic and community spaces. Her work bridges Dominica and the Francophone world, contributing to the preservation and teaching of Creole while fostering greater cultural exchange between the Caribbean and the European audiences. So I think if Lina is ready, we are.
Lina, of course, will be speaking on the topic Creole Education and Research, Insights on Development. Allez-y, Lina.
Allô? Hello.
Hello.
Zora tan moi? Oui. Fais un petit coucou à moi là. Moi ka espérer zo bien? Oui, bien. OK, moi les partager et comment moi pas savoir si zo ka ouais. Oui, nous ka ouais. Zo ka ouais moi ou écran là? Hello. Can you all see my screen or
Lina,
me?
Lina, nous ka ouais ou nous ka tan nous? Nous ka ouais écran ou nous ka voir ou? Parlez.
Okay, merci. Okay. What I've already been tout le monde, as protocol has already been established, I would like to say good afternoon to everyone. My name is Lina Luke, and I was asked to talk about Creole education and research. Now I have the mélange, so just like Milia, so bear with me. Okay. So, moi, c'est tellement content de voir moi pour dire ça, but I heard Milia said she doesn't want to hear grandma name one more time, but I'm going to say it. because this is where I learned my Creole, even if I am from St. Joseph. And I want to just tell you also, when you all said about the little children, I was waiting for the bus once, and there was a lady walking with her maybe 2 or 3-year-old son. And he was carrying a box, and she's telling me, "Marche vite, marche vite." The little boy told his mother, "Upaka we bot la lou." I was so shocked. 2, 3 years, told his mother, "Upaka we bot la lou." I was so shocked. I had to share that. Okay, so next slide. I want to begin with the value of Creole. Like any other language, we know that we have our roots. We cannot just identify ourselves without identifying the Creole language. So if you see here, they say, oh, well, somebody said about the base from French. It's true, all language have a base. Huh? Did you know that English came from German? Everything has a base. So I don't understand why they are saying that, okay, you all took it from French and you all took it. No, it came from a language, yes, so just go with it. Another thing that I want to say is Creole is not patois. Mr. Gis, I heard you say Mokapali patois. No, Creole is Creole. Patois is another thing which we can get into another time. But just to give some information, did you all know that patois was given to Creole just to let it to derogatorize it, please? Because they saw the future and they saw what we would become. They did not want us to go forward. So that's my opinion. Eh? So they wanted to consider it patois. Next slide. Okay, so we go from education to mainstream. Creole is not spoken, but Creole is spoken but not taught. As many of the speakers before me has already stressed, Creole should be taught in schools, and I heard other people talk about the policies, so I'm not going to go in depth, but I want to talk about the alphabet, because some people say Creole the alphabet, no. Creole, what all Latin Creole, no? Miss all that, no? Or past tense, future tense, of course. If I say la mwen ka pale, that is the present tense. Mwen te ka pale, past continuous, I was speaking. Mwen ke pale, I will speak. And we can go on and on. So we have the alphabet Creole. So there are about 33 letters and songs in the Creole alphabet. And we have digraphs, we have nasal vowels, we have diphthongs, we have consonants, we have vowels. And we also have transparent letters. Like I was telling my students at the Dominica State College, I know there are some of them there. If you know F, L, O, M, and S, you already know 6 letters from the Creole alphabet because they are transparent letters. They are pronounced the same way. So if you know these letters in the English alphabet, then you know 6 letters already in the Creole alphabet. It is also important that we know that Creole is not, oh, I got distracted, sorry. That Creole is not just a patois, it's not a patois, sorry, but a language itself. And as I'm showing you here of the alphabet, some of the letters are not used. They are not part of the Creole alphabet, but we have other letters to replace. For example, C. If you, for example, choir, you have the K sound. So C, if anything has C, we put it with H. This becomes a digraph. And any K sound, instead of using C, we use the letter K. Slide. Research. Now, there are many people who have done research in Creole. There are many people who have done research in the Creole language. We have Stella Cambron. I remember her because when I was at Pierre Charles, she came and she She spoke about, she explained to me what she was researching, so I had to help her. And we have Douglas Taylor, who in the 50s and 60s, who explored Dominican Creole. And we have Zephyrin Royer, who in her thesis, she did her study on bilingual in the primary school and the preschool, where she also touched on Creole. But there are not many people that I know who concentrated solely on the Creole. Okay, where are we now? I heard people, I was listening to the speeches and I heard people say that we have a language policy, we have a curriculum, we have so many things. And I think it's Miss Celestine who said that we need man on deck, not the exact words, but we need people. And guys, I agree with her. We need people to help us to develop further the language and also support. Also, when I say support, I mean technical support, where we need books, we need access to online documents. There's so many things that we can do. We can do using the Creole and using the information that we already have with the Creole language. And I must say that our Creole varies. So even if, I am not trying to diss anybody, but even if you will take a book from another country, certain ways or certain words that they have in that book may not be certain ways, may not be the same way that we say the word. And even in Dominica, we have our Creole variations. For example, I know in Portsmouth, they call breadfruit pain, but in Saint Joe, we call it yampe, but it's still the same thing. Okay, and our development, I heard in the speeches that we have the Creole pause, sorry. Then we have the FETs, like Miss Akpa, I have a question mark. So I think you all should know why. And then we have the curriculum, the Creole curriculum that I am so thrilled to examine. And then we have I think we need more materials because our materials are limited. For the Creole class that I do at Dominica State College, I create my own materials. And as I was saying earlier, we need to standardize because right now, as Miss Akpa said, some people, they write and you don't even understand what they write. So if we come together and we decide, okay, this is the spelling for example, chwe. This is the spelling for chwe. Everybody could come together and decide, okay, yes, we agree, this is the spelling for tree, not just write it how you want. And another thing, some of the people who are older, who know the Creole informally, when you try to tell them, because of language evolution, when you try to, they don't want to take the correction. So I implore the people that at least listen to the people who want to share with you information that they learn, information that they know. So at least we can just come together because the Creole is so rich. These are our challenges. We have limited curriculum, materials, policy inertia, need for community advocacy. I think this is what we need. We need these things among others, because we are not in this by ourselves. We are in this together. And this is the call for action, among others. We need, well, I had already written that, Ms. Celestine, before you spoke about the language policy. So bear with me. Now, did you know that anybody who is willing, you can do a bachelor's degree? I'm advertising for you, you can do a bachelor's degree at the Université des Antilles in Martinique. So I am hoping that we get more formal. People are educated more formally in the language. So they do not have it yet in Dominica. So if somebody wants to do it, they can go to Martinique, or you can do it online. So you don't have to leave, even if Martinique is very close, but you can stay home and do it. Okay, so this is it. I don't know if I wasn't checking the time. And this is my contribution. I have written, because I know that especially the books that we have, sometimes it's not for the children. So I started with the children. So we have the alphabets, you can color with this one, and this one you can learn to, the students can learn to color. Not only children, adults can take it too. Huh? And I will leave with this quote. Si ou pale ba un nom en langage I ka kopon, I ke ale en tête pli. Mais si ou pale ba en langage li même, I ka wive en chey. Quote by Nelson Mandela. And in conclusion, I think we will continue, to treat Creole as a footnote in our development story, or will we write a new chapter where Creole is the ink, the paper, and the voice? Let us invest in education that reflects our reality. Let us support research that honors our roots, and let us develop with Creole, not despise it. Thank you. Merci.
Merci, on chay, Lina, Luke, merci, mesdames, qui étaient parlé sur le langage créole, éducation et puis recherche. Yes. And on this note, we're going to pause for a Creole cause. Quand nous avons invité moun la qui annonce initiative ça là, ça c'est ministre qui a responsabilité pour les affaires éducation, Madame Octavia Alfred. That's the cause we're going to pause for right now. All right? So we're going to invite our dear minister to, of course, address us briefly. Yes? Si vous voulez, vous amener mic là-bas, mais sinon, ça prend un podium là. Okay? All right, let's make her feel welcome to the podium.
Bonjour tout le monde. Ça va fait? Eh bien, c'est bon, si ça bien. Moi content, aujourd'hui là, moi là. Et moi là parce que moi vrai là. Parce que aujourd'hui c'est jeudi, vous savez qui joue jeudi, bah monde qui parle rap. Aujourd'hui c'est jeudi, et puis passer ça, vous attendre confirmation. Vous comprenez? C'est un jour qui pressé, mais nous n'y tellement bien qu'en fait à la même temps, semaine ça là. Nous n'y ou là ou quand dit au passe à ouest non, moi non. Et si là aussi moi dit que je crier moi 3 fois par jour pour 3 semaines. So moi dit ouais dit que moi essayer venir mais moi ça va être plus passer 1 or 1.5 parce que moi on l'autre bulletin pour faire après ça c'est on ne peut aller regarder bulletin confirmation en constituency on ne peut regarder ça fait monde qui vote ba mais moi voulais oui merci tout le monde moi voulais commander tout le monde moi pas faire faux en créole moi pas faire faux en langage anglais depuis qu'on comprendre ça moi qu'a dire c'est ça qui est plus important et ben moi les dit moi les boîte vapeur bah tout le monde qui travaille en créole parce que nous connaître créole c'est un bitin qu'il faut créole tellement fort les personnes pas ka goumen par créole ka goumen par koy créole fort comme mouchoué maman parce que mais c'est vrai parce que là on bitin fait et bien vieille femme là douleur descend en sous vieille femme yo ka démarrer tête yo avec mouchoué là et bien yo ka marrer yo et bien yo ka ba yo ban so créole fort comme mouchoué maman et aussi moi ka dit aussi créole tellement fort qui les moun pas te ka parler créole jik l'école les yo quitter ba nous hat blé et bien chemise blanc ou ka voir ça fait qui fait c'est l'école là c'est l'école là changer ces uniformes là et bien yo ni actuellement on bitin madras yo ka pied check-out ka personne pas pièce check-out ça c'est famille madras ka si blue secondary ka mener famille ça madras ou sou garder ces uniformes là c'est l'école là fait c'est famille madras parce que à l'est là yo pas même savent ça yo te ka faire mais créole te ka goumen pour koy so moi ka dire c'est pas moi même là moi couiller pose pour à cause si moi te ça moi je ka faire bitin moi même ou ça parce que ça moi te vle c'est il te ni un son créole et bien yo te dit pour sonner son créole là so dans ce temps la journée là où on certain sonner ou savent ça c'est son créole là qui sonner Et bien, après ça, tout le monde tenu pour arrêter ça, il a fait. Et bien, tout ce monde là, tu apprendre même bitin là, en toutes ces classes-là. C'est pas rien pour écrire, eh bien, tout ça. Mais c'est son essor créole là, eh bien, je dis là, nous qu'a dit, moi ni en mal tête. Ou tête moins qu'a fait moins mal. Ou qu'a vrai. So, tous ces enfants-là, pour aujourd'hui, ils ont apprendre, tête moins qu'a fait moins mal. Mais, il pas aller comme moi bien lay, mais moi qu'a vivre là, parce que moi pas qu'à vivre comme ça, non. So, moi qu'a dit, moi qu'a remercier les autres pour tout travail là. Moi qu'a dit, quand je regarde en chambre là, moi qu'a dit, mais tout le monde en chambre là, nous n'y passions là. Tout le monde en chambre là, nous n'y l'idée là, mais travail là, c'est pour nous à présent aller et bien changer l'idée les autres monde. Parce que, Creole pas que nous en chance, il pas que quitter nous dormir en la paix si nous pas fait ça nous ni pour faire. Et même si c'est mon goin, moi quoi yo mettre ce livre là pour les petits, mais même si mon goin, c'est mon goin là ni pour commencer avec livre ces petits là. Parce que même si nous teachers différents bitins, si vous pas aimé le langage là, et bien vous pas ça parler, c'est très difficile parce que moi, teacher là moi français là bien. Mais teacher là moi jeune moi là moi déjà goin. Et moi pas jamais apprendre vowel français. So, si pas moi papier écrit en français, moi quand lis, et bien moi quand dit ou papier là dit c'est faut faire ci faire ça. Mais là moi ouvert bouche pour moi lire, moi pas connaître phonics français. So ou conversation on butin. Eh ben on aller dans l'école Concorde, on pas parler patois, on pas parler créole, on pas parler français. So on commençait parce que all schools was do French. So on commençait à dire ces enfants là, eh ben yo fait nous écouter un test. Mais test là pas te dit parler. Test là te dit lis, eh bien, répondre question, eh bien, so moi lis, moi, moi taper, moi dis oui. Moi, taper comme moi, j'ai Guadeloupe à dans classe, pour moi, apprendre pour, actuellement, pour moi, étudier ces enfants-là. Moi, on les moque à dire, teacher là. Ça, y'a qu'à oui, non? Et dit, y'a qu'à oui, moi, dis, moi, y'a qu'à oui. Et, moi dis, pourquoi y'a qu'à oui, moi? Il dit, eh bien, teacher là, dit, ou qui pas connaître pièce, mot, français, mais ou qui a fait plus difficile sentence. Ou qu'à voir? Parce que y'a qu'à dire, Dominique, tout le monde a dit, oh, Dominique, c'est un bel pays. Moi, dis, Dominique, c'est un tranche, Dominique, c'est un bel pays. Et c'est un réplica des jardins de Ide. Oui, moi, pas pour 10 minutes là, non? Moi, c'est pas un speaker bon matin là, mais moi, je dis, c'est faut nous commencer, parce que aussi nous te dit, tout samedi, nous te commandé toute famille, même pour un auditeur, parler créole. Parce que moi, on était un grandchild. Il a dit, Granny, il était 3 ans. This English you speak when you're speaking to people about me and I'm there, I need to learn it. So, moi, je dis, ça, c'est pas English. Ça, c'est pas au qualité English, c'est Creole. He did well, I want to learn it because when I'm there and you are speaking to people about me, you're speaking that kind of English. So, moi, je dis, on commence à étudier. Bonjour, madame. Granny, l'application est tombée. My granny, even if I can't say it, but sometimes I understand what you're telling the people about me. So, moi, même si pas te comprendre pour y parler, mais il a écouté, peut-être si c'est gamme visage, moi, gamme là, moi, action là, mais il te comprendre. So, moi, je dis, si nous faisons effort là, nous apprendre le langage là, même si nous ne pas apprendre pour écrire, comme moi, je parler là, mais pour que nous pouvons étudier moi, vowels là. Parce que je ne peux jamais lire un document en créole, vraiment. Parce que je ne peux pas connaître vowel créole, mais si je peux parler, parce que les enfants viennent à l'école en grade K, ils connaissent son, rain, mam, mother, mommy. À l'aise là, on dit M-U-M-M-Y, mommy, mais ils déjà dit mommy. So si on déjà dit tête, zéro, la pli, manger, là, ils viennent nous montrer ces mots-là, ils déjà connaissent les. Mais moi, je parle tout le temps, moi, je suis un bon qui a mangé quoi, vous savez. Mais moi, je parle tout le temps, moi, je dis, oui, merci beaucoup. pour tout travail là, et bien travail là, c'est pas pour nous, parce que ça qui a fait moi triste, c'est ça. Moi, je dis, tout mon travail déjà fait. Mais, plus de monde pas qu'à parler. So, ça, nous pour zéro in sur ça. Pour qui plus de monde pas qu'à parler, après nous j'ai fait tout travail ça là. Eh bien, si nous passons à taper pour écrire, nous passons à taper pour lire, à nous voir si nous taper plus de monde pour parler, eh bien, comment nous pouvons communiquer, eh bien, nous pouvons parler. À présent, nous pouvons commander, nous pouvons dire, l'état d'obéli en créole, nous dit quoi? W.
Eh bien, merci en l'eau, Madame Ministre. Ça, c'est un bon pause nous tenir pour en cause. À nous battre la main, battre bravo, bas ministre nous. Et à ça, nous allons continuer à s'y zoom encore. Fois ça, nous allons joindre Madeleine Dragon Jules. Vous l'avez dit au compte li? Oui.
Ok, Dr. Midlin Dragon Julesen, c'est un de Haïti, is a distinguished linguist, lecturer, and researcher from Haiti, specializing in Creole and African languages. A former member of the Académie Creole Ancien, or I should say Haïtien. She now lectures in the Department of Creole at the University of the Antilles in Martinique. Her research spans ça c'est un mot qui est difficile, donc quitter ça par la grande dame parce que anglais
Spans, morphology,
bon,
syntax.
yes.
You want me to continue?
Semantics in Haitian Creole, comparative studies with other French lexicon, Creole and African languages such as Luganda, Yoruba, and Fongbe. Through her groundbreaking works on pronoun structures, degree constructions, and specialized lexicons, she has made significant contributions to the field of Creole linguistics. Mesdames, Messieurs, tout le monde qui a écouté, qui a regardé nous, nous avons l'autre présentatrice du pays Haïti qui a parlé, messieurs, mesdames, enfin, à sous-sujet, nous avons parlé de sujet qui a présenté. Un paquet de papier, forging Creole partnership for common cause and true identity. Let's make her feel a Creole welcome, Dr. Madeleine Dragon Jules.
Bonjour tout le monde, est-ce que nous entendons bien?
Yes.
Ok, merci. En fait, moi content la jodia pour moi partager réflexion moi sur l'importance qui gagne pour peuple créolophone yo travailler ensemble pour défendre cause créole là qui c'est vraie identité nous. Nous pral essayer ouais ça sous 3 points. Nous pral ouais et créole là comme langue, créole comme marque culture, créole comme emblème identité et dans 10 minutes là, hein? Donc on va faire vite. Créole comme langue. En général, on définit une langue comme outil de communication, mais nous connaissons langue non plus que ça. Moi, pas besoin de faire un pile râler sur comment la langue créole a été émergée, mais nous connaissons la langue créole a symbolisé force, résistance nous pendant la période d'esclavage là. Malgré que l'on a essayé de mettre la bouquette dans la bouche nous, pendant qu'on a cherché à diviser famille africaine, diviser ethnie qui parlaient même langue. Dans les Caraïbes, là, nous avons plusieurs pays qui parlent créole, tant que la Dominique, Guadeloupe, Martinique, Haïti, qui ont un créole avec base lexical français, Jamaïque, Barbade, qui ont un créole avec base lexical anglais, Colombie, qui parle créole avec une base lexical espagnol et la trier. Là, nous considérons Caraïbes là sur un plan macro, pas, là, nous ne pas réduit à Antilles seulement. Tout créole sa yo prend naissance dans le même contexte pendant la période de colonisation. Si nous prenons créole français qui est dans les Caraïbes, là, par exemple, nous avons un pile point de ressemblance, même si nous sommes capables de remarquer qu'il y a quelques points qui sont différents. Ça qui est normal parce que dans le même pays, dans la même langue, on peut remarquer qu'il y a des différences d'une région à l'autre. C'est ça, sociolinguistique relève variation régionale là, régionale ou bien dialecte. Mais nous sommes capables de remarquer, malgré les différences, nous voyons qui gagne dans toute qualité créole ça pas empêcher une comprendre l'autre. Raison claire je dis parce que il y a intervenant qui prend la parole dans la langue créole pa yo, moi arrivé comprendre et moi penser c'est même bagay là pour nous tous à comprendre créole haïtien ouais. Dans le pays, ça yo, même si il y a une langue coloniale là qui est toujours là, mais la langue créole là rete campé tout bout. Nous exprimer la joie nous, tristesse nous, la peine nous la donne, nous bay blague la donne et la trier, parce que c'est langues entrailles. Si nous traversons nous prend océan Indien, océan Pacifique, nous un pays tant que Seychelles, île Maurice, qui donc, malgré distance, malgré espace géographique différent, langue créole continue à exister malgré une pile menace disparition qui sous-tête en paix. Kounye là, nous sautons comment créole, c'est langue qui cimente nous comme peuple caribéen, comme peuple créolophone. Nous parlons comment créole yo, c'est ma fabrique qu'il tient nous. Selon anthropologue yo, qu'il tient c'est un ban très matériel, là nous est matière, objet, ou bien immatériel, moun capable de transmettre de génération en génération. Qu'il t'y a traduit dans la façon de nous comporter nous, dans la façon de nous agir, dans la façon de nous penser et la trier. Qui donc, façon de nous manger, façon de nous habiller, nous parler, tradition nous, croyance nous, mythe nous, tout fait partie de qu'il t'y a. Yon langue pas qu'à exister en dehors de yon qu'il t'y, et qu'il t'y a pas capable d'exister sans une société. De nous considérer espace caribéen, peuple créolophone yo, nous ouais ça qui sous bassement qu'il ti yo, c'est langue créole yo. Langue créole yo, c'est un élément dans qu'il ti nous comme peuple créolophone. Ils sont un produit qu'il ti et en même temps, c'est moyen qui permet nous exprimer qu'il ti ça. Comment nous capables d'expliquer créole comme emblème d'identité? Deneuve et 2006 définit identité comme une bonne représentation mentale d'un monde ou bien un groupe monde gagné des têtes yo par rapport à l'autre monde, par rapport à la société et par rapport à l'espace à vivre et évoluer. Identité nous construit sous base tradition orale comme peuple créolophone. Orality, Jean-Ernest Mirville te proposé en 1971 dans Place littérature orale. Il manifesté dans conte, proverbe, théâtre, devinette, chant et latrier. Et si nous analysons chaque grande manifestation ça yo, n'après ça qui dégage là-dedans yo, c'est façon nous ouais tête nous. C'est ça qui est important pour nous comme monde, comme peuple. C'est ça nous partager comme valeur, comme principe moral, social ou bien religieux. Mais on veut aller plus loin pour lui dire technique travail nous yo, méthode traditionnelle pour nous guérir monde, pour nous guérir bête à plante nous yo, entrer dans oralité ça. Tradition sa yo, croyance nou yo, histoire nous comme peuple transmettre grâce à langue créole là. Qui donc langue créole là important en pile dans l'identité nous chaque comme monde et dans l'identité collective nous comme dominicains, martiniquais, guadeloupéens, haïtiens, séchellois et latriers. Li important en pile dans l'identité collective comme peuple caribéen, comme peuple créolophone. C'est un devoir pour chaque communauté continuer à transmettre patrimoine ça ba jeune yo, timon yo, non seulement pour langue ka continuer vivre pour tradition arrêter et pour capable connaître identité yo. À partir de tout élément ça yo, nous ouais langue créole c'est un outil, c'est seul outil nous gagner qui capable assurer une cohésion, un ralliement entre peuple caribéen, entre peuple créolophone yo, malgré gen différents créoles, malgré gen différents cultures. C'est même l'idée ça, Jean-Bernard B, Patrick Camoiseau, Raphaël Pofian, t'a prôné dans éloge de la créolité en 1989, côté yo dit, nous même qui dans Antilles yo, importance pour nous protéger, mettre ensemble pour cause créole la double. Il est nécessaire pour nous faire une solidarité entière sous plan géopolitique, avec tout peuple qui dans l'archipel là, malgré différences culturelles nous. Ça qui protège Gauvin en 1920 utilisé un terme qui pillage, il parlait de créolophonie caribéenne intégrative. Il parlait anti là seulement. Une solidarité créole avec tout peuple africain, mascarin, asiatique, polynésien qui joignent sociaux dans la même affinité anthropologique là qui c'est créolité. Ça montre c'est une nécessité, nous mêmes peuples caribéens, nous mêmes peuples créolophones, pour nous travailler ensemble, pour nous valoriser langue nous à culture nous, pour nous montrer importance yo, parce que même si créole est différent, même si il y a des éléments culturels qui sont différents en tout pays qui parle créole, d'après ça qui rete un sous-bassement pour nous, c'est créolité. Ma fini pour me dire, langue créole, c'est reflet histoire nous, bataille nous, espoir nous, rêve nous comme peuple. Qui donc, c'est pour nous faire tourner une force pour nous mêmes créolophones yo, dans tout aspect dans la vie société nous yo, dans la communication, dans l'éducation, dans l'administration, dans l'échange avec l'autre pays et la trier. M'a dit nous, merci en pile.
Yes, nous avons dit un pile merci à Dr. Jules. Messieurs, mesdames, il y a quelque chose de spécial, les Wapton, créole, haïtien.
Et puis, vous pouvez comprendre.
Et puis, vous pouvez comprendre. I just love the Haitian Creole, especially the croaking of the accents. Yes, I just love it. All right, so we're going to move with...
So, yes, and we're fighting to decide who is going to introduce the next speaker.
Well, no,
I am taking the big girl. I'm the big girl. I'll allow you to do it.
Okay, so you are... Okay, and they say you have to respect your elders. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to, of course, invite our next speaker. And our next speaker is a cultural administrator, historian, and advocate whose lifelong service has shaped Dominica's cultural identity. As former chief cultural officer, he played a pivotal role in preserving and promoting the island's heritage through festivals, arts, language, and education. A long-standing member of Comité Poétique Creole CEC, he has been instrumental in advancing the teaching and celebration of Creole nationwide. A Golden Drum Award recipient, Raymond is widely respected for his leadership, eloquence as a cultural voice, and unwavering dedication to keeping Dominica's traditions alive for future generations. Messieurs, mesdames, c'est avec plaisir que nous avons invité comme présentateur, messieurs, mesdames, à ce sujet, Legacy Comité pour études créole. Bad bravo pour Mr. Raymond Lawrence.
We hope you understand why we're excited. Raymond is also the head of the Comité pour études créole.
Yes.
So this is a celebration for all of us through listening to Mr. Raymond Lawrence.
Merci, Milia et Ophelia. Bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour, bonjour. And I was going to recognize the minister, but it seems she had to leave. So let me just recognize WADIX and Creole Heartbeat, organizers of this wonderful consultation. Of course, all the presenters, and I noticed most of them are from CEC. A lot of what they said was what I had prepared as well, but I guess because they're members of CEC, you will see the influence of CEC's activities on what they were able to say. Monsignor Thomas, recognize you as well. And of course, the overseas-based presenters, thank you very much. The sponsors, special invited guests, media present, ladies and gentlemen, students, good day. Let me begin by congratulating WADIX and Creole Heartbeat for planning and organizing this Creole language consultation. Language is an expression of our identity, culture, and heritage. So it's important that we constantly assess and evaluate the status of the Creole language and our other Creole languages in Dominica. According to latest statistics, approximately 9 languages in the world disappear every year. which is equivalent to one language disappearing every 40 days. So there is always the concern that if we do not keep using and promoting our Creole languages, then we run the risk of losing these languages completely. It's imperative, therefore, that we put things in place to support and ensure the survival of our important Creole languages. Today I was asked to speak, though, about the legacy of KEC. So I will sort of focus more on the work of KEC. A lot of other institutions and individuals have done work in promoting the Creole language. I just want to highlight, of course, Creole Heartbeat. We want to mention UE Global Campus, the Ministry of Education, the Cultural Division, Ministry of Culture, individuals like we have here, like Monsignor Thomas, Monsignor John Lewis within the Catholic Church, radio stations, DBS Radio, Q95, Alliance Française. Many institutions, individuals have done a lot of work apart from KEC, so I really wanted to recognize them as well. But the main aim behind the creation of the Comité pour Utile Creole, 44 years ago, this was set up, KEC was set up, is to help to promote and preserve and ensure that we have our Creole language with us for generations to come. 44 years is a long time for any organization or institution to exist and function, and so we're grateful to God for bringing us thus far. Alwyn Bully, who was Chief Cultural Officer at the time KEC was formed in 1981, was the one mainly responsible for the creation of KEC, together with some other champions of Creole, such as Marcel Jamala Fontaine, Gregory Rabes, Anita James, Felix Henderson, Sonia Maglo Akpa. And today I thank all the founding members of KEC and all those who have maintained the work of KEC in promoting the Creole language throughout the years. The Creole language has been a part of the roots of our culture in Dominica for hundreds of years. The language has formed the basis for many of our folk songs, our oral traditions like conte, and the lavoué for one of our main traditional dances, the belé. The Creole language has influenced our cadence and bouillon music. It now features as part of our radio and television news and programming. Our Creole language features in various KEC publications, and the language is now being taught in schools. The language has facilitated our communication with our neighbors, Guadeloupe, Martinique, St. Lucia, and also the Haitians who now reside here. The work of KEC in all of this is very significant and important, and we really have to recognize and appreciate the contribution of KEC during our 44-year history. KEC has played a leading role, one of the leading roles in championing the promotion and preservation of the Creole language, introducing events like Creole Day in 1981 and Heritage Day in 1984. And let me just say that Heritage Day, for instance, was meant to promote the Creole language. Starting with the church service, the idea was that the service be done all in Creole and that people wear Creole clothes from the very beginning. And even with the cultural gala in the afternoon, promoting the Creole language, promoting the Creole culture. And of course, the same goes for Creole Day. The main aim of it was to promote the Creole language and all the other aspects of our Creole. And of course, right now, our Creole season has extended to like 6 weeks, September to November. But we have to bear in mind that promotion of Creole is not just during the season alone. It should be all year round. So in 1983, a KEC delegation representing Dominica at a Creole conference in the United States proposed the idea of an International Creole Day, and the idea was adopted. The International Committee for Creole Studies organized this conference. So the first International Creole Day was held on October 28, 1983, and we're talking about the International Creole Day, and whereas the local Creole Day is a separate Creole Day observation. And this International Creole Day has been observed every year since 1983, and this was as a direct result of the actions and the work of KEC at that time. Keck has also been responsible for researching and publishing Dominica's first Creole dictionary. The persons involved in the compilation of that dictionary were Marcel Jamala Fontaine, Gregory Rabes, Felix Henderson, Sonia Lloyd, Sonia Akpa, Stephanie Stewart, Arlington James, Philbert Aaron, Jay Grimner, Jeno Jacob, Anita James, Ophelia Marie, and Audrey Flower. And through the years, and in more recent times, Keck, with the assistance of the Cultural Division, has been very instrumental in researching and publishing several publications, including, and I know some previous presenters have mentioned them already, Powell Kadi, a book containing over 500 Creole proverbs, Mi Bredex, a book containing several Creole expressions, Tim Tim Glodubut, a publication containing several Tim Tim expressions, Tilis Dominic, which features some of our folk stories and which were written and compiled by Delia Coffey Weeks, a book with some of the quotes of Lawrence Brumant in Creole and with English translations. And 2 years ago, you heard Miss Celestine mention it, a publication entitled Anu Apuan Creole, compiled by Sonia Agpa, Charlene White Christian, and Magali Celestine. And we have also produced a commemorative magazine to mark the occasion of our 40th anniversary. The magazine was launched at our 41st anniversary function. The commemorative magazine contains articles on Keck, Dominica's culture, Creole music, food, and Creole wear, and other fascinating aspects of our Creole culture. The magazine was coordinated by Ophelia Marie. Several years ago, Keck, with the assistance of the Ministry of Education, the Alliance Française, and the Cultural Division, introduced our annual Creole Spelling Bee competition for primary schools. And so far, we have had 14 editions of this event. We also introduced a Creole choral speech competition for secondary schools, which we did twice, and we're planning to stage again in the future. We had also established a memorial scholarship fund to commemorate the memory of the late Marcel Jamala Fontaine, which we awarded to about 5 students of the Dominica State College. In 2023, we launched an education video documentary entitled Creole in Education, which was produced by Keck as part of a project entitled Dominica as a Center of Excellence for the Preservation and Celebration of the Creole Culture through Language, the Arts, and its indigenous Kalinago. And we had also launched a documentary on Creole in Kalinago culture, because as we all know, the Kalinago people speak fluent Creole as well. And all of these projects were carried out by Keck in collaboration with the Cultural Division and the University of Bedfordshire in the United Kingdom. We heard mention of Keck working now on a new Creole dictionary. The dictionary will be bilingual. It will have Creole English and English Creole sections. There will be words and their meanings and origins, and also examples of how the words are used in sentences, with the translations of these sentences, and synonyms and variants of the words are also included. And as we all know, dictionaries are extremely important in the writing, the speaking, the promotion of Creole, of any language, as a matter of fact, and of course for the Creole language as well. And with regards to the teaching of Creole, it didn't just happen this year. We started with a pilot project in 2019 with 19 schools, and Magali Celestine mentioned it, with a pilot project. And teachers were trained to teach the Creole in these schools. Unfortunately, COVID had an impact on that program, but as we have heard from the PS of Education earlier on, the language now is going to be taught in all primary schools in Dominica, which we are very, very happy about, very, very pleased with, a major development for Creole language in Dominica. And the schools are using a Creole curriculum guide, which was developed by Charlene White Christian and Magali Celestine. I'm pleased to announce this morning that on behalf of Keck, to assist with the teaching of Creole in primary schools in Dominica, we will be donating copies of our Anuapuan Creole to every primary school in Dominica. And we know that these books will certainly give a boost to the teaching of Creole in schools. And we're hoping that in the not-too-distant future, together with the Ministry of Education, we can continue to build on further inclusion of the language of secondary schools as well, and give greater exposure and promotion to this beautiful language of ours. The member of KEC that you heard online, Lena Luke, she's been teaching a Creole language course at the Dominica State College, and she's been doing that for the past 4 years. We are working, among other things, on the National Creole Language Policy. The policy is meant to provide a roadmap for the future direction of Creole language development in Dominica. It will provide guidelines for the use of Creole in different domains, schools, media, justice system, private sector, government offices, etc. After this policy is drafted, we hope that Cabinet can approve and adopt it so that the country can use that policy as a guide for the future development and use of the language. KEC was able to introduce 2 significant Creole programs on both DBS Radio and Q95. The More Creole feature, which forms part of the Esperias Creole program on DBS, was introduced in 2022 and highlights a Creole word every day from Monday to Friday. And then 1 year ago, this month, KEC introduced a new Creole program on Q95 called Mouvement Creole. And this program is on every Tuesday evening from 6 p.m. and features various topics, guests, and the teaching of the language. KEC is hoping that as one of the results of this consultation, we will see more support for the creation of our national Creole policy to establish Creole as an accepted and recognized national language of Dominica. That at the end of the consultation, recommendations can be made for the recognition of KEC as one of the legal entities for the advancement of the Creole language in Dominica. I'd also like to recommend that the government give consideration to providing KEC with a subvention, which will assist us with our work, and maybe an office which can support the production of video materials and materials for schools, for public. We're also recommending that apart from primary schools, that Creole be taught in all secondary schools as well. We were able to provide the proper Creole spelling for our national motto, Appuie bon Dieu c'est la terre, and Cabinet has approved. And we are recommending that all national emblems which use the Creole language should have the proper Creole spellings of all words which are part of the emblems. We also are recommending that government and private sector approve of Creole sign interpretations, and somebody mentioned that as well, names of villages, other signs. You go to the stores, you see the bilingual signs in English and Creole. We can have a lot more of those across the island. As we are aware in Dominica, we speak English, Creole, Khoikhoi, and Kalinago, and they are all important languages. The Creole language, the promotion of which is the mandate of KEC, helps us to strengthen our sense of national identity and pride, as it is so integral in the way we speak and the way we communicate with each other, and it's also prevalent in our music and folklore. We hope that both government and private sector will continue to invest in the development of our Creole language, and that we will continue to recognize the importance of the language to our everyday living, our national identity, and our cultural expressions. I want to continue to encourage all Dominicans to speak the Creole whenever the opportunity arises, and in that way we will be helping to preserve our traditions, and we will be helping to keep alive our Creole language, which is a very vital part of our culture. Merci autant, tout le monde.
Mouche Lawrence, merci en pile. Let's give him another round of applause. I will introduce the next presenter so that you have fun for the other one. I'm speaking now about Dr. Myrna Bolus. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. She's from Guadeloupe, and she's a leading linguist and educator specializing in Creole language and culture. A lecturer at the Université des Antilles, she has played a key role in advancing Creole education through teacher training, research, and public advocacy. Her work focuses on integrating Creole and formal education systems, promoting linguistic pride, and strengthening cultural identity in the French Caribbean. Dr. Bolus is widely respected across the region for her scholarship and her commitment to elevating Creole as both a language of heritage and a tool for development. So from Guadeloupe, Dr. Myrna Bolus.
And of course, Dr. Bolus will be joining us live on Zoom. We'll be speaking on the topic, the importance of the Creole language and partnership in Guadeloupe.
Bien, bonsoir à tout le monde. Bien, vous avez diaporama là? Pas de problème?
Pas de problème.
D'accord. Eh bien, en cas de des autres, la famille, bien bonjour, bien bonsoir, si l'on est là. En cas commencer dit monsieur ambassadeur Wadik Charles, merci pour l'invitation là. Et quand on voit en cas il la voix assis talent à langue guadeloupéen là et il y en âge à tout peuple qui a parlé créole assis là tête. Alors d'abord pour yon en fait ouais. Donc d'abord pour yon nous pouvons suivre chemin là ça donc on connaît trois morceaux créole là dans Bondy Guadeloupe créole l'école et en Québec assis on t'y calcule si peut-être qui chemin par rapport à ça à tout ça nous pas dit aujourd'hui là qui chemin peut-être nous peut prendre. Alors pour commencer nous que dit depuis 17e siècle là on voit langue là voit joue ben jusqu'à aujourd'hui joue Guadeloupe tout le monde qui parler créole. Alors madame commissaire a voté qu'on nous a dit commatrité qui veut dire depuis petit moun jikatan mouno bâton gros chap petit chap Guadeloupéen moun dewa aussi qui ka vinn rete Guadeloupe moun ka fait politique donc en final dit compte langue là nous peut dire ils vivant tout bonnement et nous en droit content ça d'avoir langue là nous peut dire ils ka vivre mais ça nous ka voir c'est il ka prend on logaz aussi en bas langue à peuple Guadeloupe d'avoir français là qu'a prend en main et situation là ça et ben nous peut dire comme ça ni moun qui voit qui senti ça t'est arrivé même si langue là du bout assuré certain mais misi en misi à force français la rentrer et ben langue là trouvé en Jean bancal et monsieur Jean Bernabé quand elle depuis enfin même avant 2005 mais en 2005 t'es qu'a dit comme ça nous caille façadé qui c'est Martinique qui c'est Guadeloupe il y avait un problème il bail non décréolisation et décréolisation là ça a été qu'a dit tension à pas par rapport à quantité monde qui a parlé langue là à pas ça puis s'en sorti des autres comme ça langue là il bien du bout il bien joke en dit dans bonne île Guadeloupe problème là c'est gomme là qualité à langue là et c'est ça qui a fait tout qu'on nous a dit à Kazan nous zotobra la langue là et malheureusement nous peut dire Jean Bernabé Tétini Titak raison alors on a passé vitement pressé pour bailler la voix à si créole là on dit dans l'école là. Depuis c'est l'année 50 là, ni moun major qui vivait fait l'anglais rentrant dit dans l'école là. Ça pas été simple, ni juste ni ça yo considéré yo te fou, yo dit yo sorti par étant dit dans l'école là, faut pas yo montrer ti moun l'anglais en dit dans créole là d'avoir ça qui opposé yo pas parler en français dans total en bon grain de français. Ah, donc c'est moun là ça yo mettre yo si côté mais dans l'année 70 là, 70, 90, zoni top même des trois piles fait, moun a fait l'école et yo ke goumé pour ti moun peut ça connaître l'anglais et qui ti la langue et qui ti créole Guadeloupe depuis l'école Mabo, donc tout petit l'école, c'est petit ti moun là, juste aussi l'université. Pour ça, yo ka y mettre un paquet d'outils de word, quand elle dictionnaire, mais livre aussi, un paquet de livres à G, livre à montrage par rapport à l'anglais, et ça caille bail un bel ballon. Si vous regardez bien, on peut bail la voir assis c'est l'année 70-90 là. C'est l'année aussi, au là, et ben, Zoukla a prend un ballon aussi, un bel ballon. Donc, nous peut arriver lier tout ça, d'avoir moun katan l'anglais, yo katan l'anglais en d'autres manières, et quand même, yo te ke parler, yo ka trouver yo à l'aise à yo ka continuer parler, pas ni un paquet de moun qui ka apprendre l'anglais dans l'école, mais l'idée là qu'a fait chimé. Donc c'est l'année 2000 là, la France, puisque nous en bas l'option à la France, a fait que la rentrée, soi-disant dit, pour bon, on dit dans l'école là. Mais à pas tout dit, mais les couleurs d'école, c'est fait ici qui tout. Et quand nous avouons, l'anglais, on j'en ici 6 ans, d'accord, il y a l'école là, mais ici 6 ans, à pas tous les élèves qui apprennent l'anglais et ça, sociolinguiste a dit Lambert Félix Prudent, c'est faut garder qui gens ou qu'à mettre l'anglais 6 ans dit dans l'école là. Déjà pour yon, faut pas garder ça, c'est famille là qu'a dit, à pas toute famille qui d'accord avec ça, mais faut calculer aussi à si qui gens ou qu'a fait, ni on l'arrête, ni et certains la règle poursuivre pour faire ça et malheureusement si tu ni deux trois moun vaillant qui fait mais derrière doayo patini en politique assez fort pour te ça mener ça à bout et jeudi jour mais quand qui a passé nous pas voir nous pas piéton donc pas gagné on paquet des élèves qui a fait si nous pas toute l'académie là nous ni 10% élèves tous celles qui a étudié depuis l'école Mabo hein juste aussi l'université, grande école, lycée à Kazanou, eh bien, nous ni, rien qui 10% élèves qui a étudié l'anglais. Alors, outini presque tout le monde Guadeloupe qui a parlé l'anglais. Ça, si vous comprendre cette situation là, donc, créole là, il en dit dans l'école là, mais il pas tout à fait à l'aise. Et je dis, quand on t'a dit, ben, il y a un gros bab qui va tout partout, c'est la France décidé roter. Il y en a dans ces concours là pour moun pe sa vin professeur d'école et ça a commencé à faire des ordres en disant pays là. Alors, on est arrivé à si dernier mot sur moi pour dire, après tout ça, il faut pas nous laguer guidon ou nous pète foi leur voix nous cabailler la voix assis langue en nous quittant nous et éveille qu'il t'y là d'avoir en dit dans pays là si ni un moteur qui toujours marché c'est ces associations là c'est souvent de fois association Guadeloupe c'est yo qui a porté l'anglais en l'air c'est yo qui a porté qu'il t'y là en lait. Et ça porte talent tout bonnement. Dans l'université aussi, nous avons travaillé qui a fait. Alors, c'est comme ça, on commençait avec 2013 d'avoir un songé avec Coréca, on a l'option à M. Grégory Rabès et quelques un symposium Dominique et Nouville et ça a été intéressant. Après, Guadeloupe, nous recevons aussi, nous avons parti passer la Louisiane, nous avons parti Haïti aussi pour que ça fait formation. colloque international à l'étude créole siècle fait par Bornou en 2016, Guadeloupe, c'est ça qui a fait un paquet de temps ça qui a existé. Et ça, c'est on maniait, on grand la ronde pour moun qui a fait recherche à si langue créole là, c'est langue créole là, tout partout assis la terre, yo semblé et yo bay grain sel à yo, assis ça qui a passé, yo chaque à dans pays à yo. Zoni moun dewa aussi, yo pas qu'à parler langue là, mais yo ka fait recherche à si langue là, ça qui a intéressé yo tout bonnement. 2023, mais depuis en 2020-2023, ni étudiants par Haïti, les États-Unis, Martinique, qui viennent Guadeloupe aussi, pour y te ça rouler à si langue guadeloupéenne là. Nous tapons, on causé en 2023, l'Université Guadeloupe aussi là, nous fait un paquet moun tout partout, la Réunion et la restant viennent joindre nous. Donc, nous avons, excusez-moi, 2024, la Coupe au Cantal et son association, quand on a 10 ans, qui a goumé Bakil Tilan, dit dans le pays en nous, qui aille Saint-Lucie pour y te sa bail là-bas, ainsi qui nous pas fait créole, rentrer en dit dans l'école là, qui nous pas fait créole, en dit dans l'école là. Et après, c'est ces moun Saint-Lucie là qui viennent pas bonne. Donc, tout ces exemples-là, ça, c'est pour dire travail derrière pour commander, assurer certains, mais en le bocantage, Jacques a fait, rien qu'il en nécessite, toujours avec l'association bocantage, nous partis, nous menons les élèves étudiants Guadeloupe à Martinique, nous avons un paquet bocantage qu'a fait, mais il faudrait nous nitier plus entre tous ces pays en nous là, à dans toutes bonnes îles là, et puis loin, à bord l'océan Indien. Et ça qui était intéressant peut-être, c'est nous avons l'Institut caribéen ou bien international à langue créole. Là, nous t'es compté qu'à 10 autres, beaucoup compter plus, il y en a l'autre. Là aussi, nous t'es fait, et ça fondal, nous t'es fait des outils qui c'était que papier digital, enfin, nous songer numérique là, tout la restant, en créole tout seul, mais peut-être aussi dans des langues, créole anglais, créole français, nous avons plus formation et peut-être songer mettre en seule politique à langue créole du bout aussi. Qui fait, d'après moi, ça qui peut sembler nous, et nous avons une petite parole qui dit comme ça, nous, pied bois qui haut, qui dit, il ka voie loin. Marcher ou qui voit plus loin qui. En cas des autres, bien merci pour écouter à autres.
Bien, merci. Bon, merci la Myrna Bolus, who was, of course, speaking on the importance of Creole language and partnership in La Guada. Yes, I. Yes, I. Yes, it is for me, as we'll be speaking on the topic Creole in the community. Our next presenter is a respected cultural advocate, mediator, and language and culture facilitator, whose work has impacted communities across Dominica. A retired public officer of the Ministry of Agriculture, she is a tireless champion for vulnerable groups and a dedicated facilitator with Lifeline Ministries, Adult Education, and Peace Corps Dominica. A UE social work graduate and certified mediator. Cultural contributions have earned her numerous honors, including the Golden Drum Award in 2022. She's an active member of the organizations such as KEC, DNCW, Roseau Cultural Group, and La Cour des Arts de la Dominique, embodying service and cultural pride. Let's make our next speaker feel welcome as we call on Delia Coffee Wicks on Creole in the community.
Messieurs quick. Wow. Messieurs, mesdames, mon cas est mélangé. Hein? Mon cas commencer par dire tout le monde bonjour. Événement certain. Il y a autant de monde en dedans qui j'attends monde chanter. Do, papiti, papiti, ça fait maman, maman allez ozo, ike mene bonbon bao. Ti moun nan poko ka pale non
the child cannot even speak yet, so you do not know whether the child understands. But we are already depositing the Creole into that child, because Creole is a language of life. Creole is not something that is foreign to us. It is that language that resides in our heart. And that is why n'importe côté wali, esprit le wali l'autre pays, avait autant un morceau créole, il a fait un bagay. Wadi ouvre sa bonté, ça qui moun nan ki ka parler créole là. Because the community begins in your heart. That is why even we who do not want to speak Creole when we are at home, when we leave Dominica and we go, we become super patriotic. We yearn for that Creole-ness. And we gravitate towards whatever it is that would help us to share that feeling of home away from home. So that is why sometimes when you go to England, and you go to America, wherever you find Dominicans, we come together because Creole is a language of inclusion. And so we use that Creole-ness to bring us together, to help us to connect in that kind of way. So how can we even begin to think of not having Creole? Do we want to lose whom we are? We cannot. And because somebody said earlier that a language is lost, 9 languages every year. And thank God for movements like this. And I must say thank you to Prince Wadik's ambassador for that work. Because si c'est pas ça, peut-être en 2-3 années encore, moun pas te parler créole. Eve, la GEA nous ka lité actuellement, c'est pas aujourd'hui à y commencer, hein? Des fins si Codéron, qui te ka pleurer pour ça. Il te chanté, Beke étranger qui vini Dominique vle parler pas toi pays nous. Mais Jean Ozo qui leve et si chèque a dit yo pas ka comprendre pas toi. Mes enfants moins qui témoin de ou ça. Moins hayon langage mal prononcé. Moins si mi etan oti la ou sorti ki child where there you come out from. Mais là, nous gardons compte Creole en commune. Especially those people who have grown up with a grandmother, somebody older, who is steeped in the traditional, healthy ways of life. We were younger, we were stronger, we had a better foundation. You would get up in the morning and you would not go outside until you've had a little chauffeur chair because you had to wake up the system gently. That is part of Creole in the community. But we don't do that anymore because we're so busy. We don't even have time to put on the electric kettle because we're so busy. The water not boiling fast enough. So we take the juice from the fridge and we drink it, and the body is in shock. And then we wonder, why are we not as strong? And when we hear people talking about our centenarians, we wonder, will I even make it that far? The people who are celebrating 100+, ask them, about what their communities were like when they were growing up. Are we living the same way? Are we moving away from the Creole-ness in us? Because Creole, for some people, is still that thing that shows us as being uneducated, illiterate. And so when we travel and people ask us, how many languages do you speak? English. And maybe I am fluent in French or Spanish or Chinese if I studied in China. But Creole, to list that as a language? No. But yes. Because that can be what connects you at that level with somebody else from the Creole speaking world. I heard one of the presenters say, Creole c'est langage zantoy nous. Don't you know what is your zantoy? It is your bowels, the very root of your being. So you cannot remove Creole from who you are. It is that very thing that even for the people who say they do not speak Creole, let them miss a fall. Do they say, my Lord? In Dominica, no. Bon Dieu. Because this is what comes. And even for the people who do not consider themselves speaking Creole, or they don't consider themselves as Creole people. But when something happens, the expression that flies out of you is sometimes a real deep-rooted Creole expression. And sometimes when it happens, somebody says, Boje, long I don't hear that word. And maybe the person who allowed it to escape their mouth didn't even think about it, because Creole is not a language of the head. It is a language of the heart. And so when you're being your truly authentic self, you have to allow your Creole-ness to shine through. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, and it is something that we need to address, if we intend to keep the foundation of our Creole community strong, is that when we prepare to speak and present in Creole, we need to stop writing in English and translating into Creole. When a person is doing it, moi savent. Parce qu'il fait manière nous ka kachile en Creole, c'est pas même manière nous ka kachile en anglais. Et vers les montagnes moun ka parler en qualité Creole anglais, mon ka il écrit en anglais, et vers quand il ka parler, il ka traduit. Mais là où ka parler ba un moun Creole, ou pas ni temps pour pas am kachile en anglais, traduit avec quitter sa chapé. Ou ni pour kachile en Creole. Et vers là nous commencer kachile en Creole. Il n'y autant bite nous que ouais. Nous ka mancher. Ni des trois bagay nous j'appelle. Combien grand moun ou savent qui connaît comment pour poser la main les moun taper blesse. Avec quand yo ka fait ça, c'est pas seulement oui med la yo ka ba ou non. Yo ka pou dire quand yo ka fait. Ça c'est un bagay nous perd oui. Moun pa ka faire ça encore. Moun te ka parler contre moun ka poser cataplam. Combien de monde qui ça fait ça actuellement? Nous pas même savent là pour nous gagner un cataplam, Jije ouais pour nous taper un monde pour poser ban nous. Mais nous ka aller côté différents monde pour mettre tout qualité petit portant là nous pour mettre ces gros marques là. Grand monde te ka poser coucou oui. Zo ka changer ça. Yo te ka avec ces petit calbas là. Eve yo ka mettre woman dans yo ka pri di fe. Eve le yo fini yo ka mettre pour aller vieux sang bagay comme ça. Actuellement tout bagay modern. It comes properly packaged in a box and it is presented by somebody with a few letters of the alphabet behind their name from outside of our Creole culture, and we accept it. And so the very thing that we thought it was old wives' tales and only the uneducated, because the person in the village that does that, if you draw her name, she still doesn't know that is her name because she cannot read and write. But she had a particular knowledge that was passed on because within our Creole communities, Creole was a channel of passing on our history. And you would know that a tree without a strong rooting system is going to fall, sometimes by a little wind, not even any hurricane force wind. The tree might be big. Have you ever seen sometimes the flamboyant trees do that? A huge tree, but if the root is rotten or weak, then it may just fall down. And you're saying, what happened now? We are allowing our root, our foundation, to be eroded. Because we are not doing what needs to be done to conserve, to preserve, and to pass on our Creole heritage. Well, I shouldn't say we are not doing. Not enough is being done. Because I have a book here in my hand that was published after Dr. Coffey, Violet Coffey, passed on. But it was work that she started. It was well on its way by the time she left us suddenly. The name of the book is Creole Cultures, Volume 1, Safeguarding Creole Intangible Cultural Heritage. And there are contributions by people from all over the world in this book by a Dominican who was living outside of Dominica at the time, but who saw the importance of that kind of work. I am one of the contributors to that book, and there are other Dominicans who contributed. So it means that we are recognizing that our Creole community is not just restricted to a village. Milia, every time I hear people referring to, boy, I see a little child in Grand Bay, I am like, but what do you expect now? Because I am from Grand Bay. But it is not restricted to a particular community. The community that we're speaking about is not Grand Bay or Vickers, or it is the Creole community. That community that should make you feel very much at home. Wherever you are, and you are able to communicate with another Creole-speaking person, regardless of where they came from. So yes, your Creole may not be identical to what that person is speaking. I don't speak Haitian Creole, but I can certainly communicate with a Haitian person. The Haitian may not speak exactly Mauritian Creole, but we can speak. And it gives you a sense of, even if you're far removed from me, that language can bridge the gap of miles and miles and miles of water. Because Creole is actually a language of familiarity. You don't just speak Creole to any and anybody. When you connect with somebody using the Creole language, you have a closer bond than just a very sanitized handshake. So English is a handshake, Creole is a warm, embracing hug. And so how can we let that disappear from us? We have lost certain things. We have lost how we pass on certain life lessons because we no longer use the whole art of storytelling, not just for entertainment, but the story with a moral at the end. What did you learn from the story? That is what I tried to capture in the little publication, Tilistwe Dominic. A few folk tales with the little stories that we tell about the story of Mama Mouton and Malfini. Mama Mouton te là en savane et puis petits enfants. Malfini te fin, mais Malfini pas aimé travail. Comme ça, Malfini gade et dit, qui ça mon kali manger jodi ya? And he saw a lamb, and he said, boy, that lamb will fill my stomach with. Comme ça, Malfini commençait à voler pour les enfants Maman Mouton. Maman Mouton pas dit rien, non? Il can y garder Malfini. Toute la Malfini passée, Maman Mouton ka gade. Malfini said to himself, boy, you see the way that mothership looking at me, and all you notice I'm not talking standard English, because standard English wouldn't fit into the story, so I'm switching between Creole and Dominican English. You see the way that mother looking at me? I don't really know what's going on in her head. I better leave her child alone. Quand sa maman mal fini garder encore. Éveille maman poule. Avec combien petit poule derrière? Mal fini dit, mon kali manger un petit poule. Quand ça mal fini commence à voler. Maman poule dit, mal fini dit, mademoiselle quand il fait quand il passe à faire moyen. Il descend, il guape un petit poule manger. And up to today, the chicken hawk ate chickens, not lambs. What do you learn from this story? Sometimes it is better to keep your mouth shut and not let anybody know what you can do than to run your mouth. And as people like to say, Alexis go mouvement. Rien pas là. So you're threatening, and when it's time for action, you can't do anything. It is better to keep silent. So yes, it was an enjoyable story, but you learn a lesson. You mustn't talk too much. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. So sometimes it's better to listen and not say anything, because when you don't say, nobody knows what is going on in your head. And those are the kinds of things that we are losing from our community. Because we're too busy. We want everything online. We haven't got Mama Muto and Malfini online. I'm not saying that we cannot put them there. I look forward to the day when we can capture these concepts so that our young people who are coming up, and I'm almost certain that the college students are like, what boy? Mademoiselle have jokes there. And they may even be interested in finding out a little more about the folk tales. Because I never hear about that book. Because it's not on TikTok. And it's not on Instagram. And it's not on this, and it's not on that. I myself, I old. Facebook, that's my thing. I can't use TikTok and Instagram. But these are the things that we need to hang on to. These are the little things that are the building blocks of Creole in the community. How many of you can show by hand that a tree was planted and my navel string was buried underneath it? And I know where that tree is. Okay? And some of the people might be wondering, what's she talking about? But that was our whole concept of reforestation. You cut a tree, you plant another one. A child is born, you plant a tree for them. These are the foundations of Creole in the community. There is so much more that can be said, but time is against us. And so, I will say, merci en l'eau, merci en chai, zoba mon belle petite chance pour mon dire ça mon fait, pour mon kawe bazo, pour mon dit tout ça mon te vle di actuellement, comme ça. Merci bon Dieu.
Merci en pile, Madam Wicks. Let me just take this opportunity to run through our sponsors really quick. Our headline sponsors, Assignment and Dragon Windows. Our partners, the Ministry of Education, Alliance Française, KEC, and the UE Global Campus. Our media sponsors, Multi Solutions Inc., Q95 FM, the DNO, DBS Radio, Caribbean FM, MO News, and my Caribbean channel. Our corporate sponsors, Cohen Global, Dublin's Dental Clinic, National Cooperative Credit Union, and the National Bank of Dominica. Messieurs, mesdames, nous avons changé de direction en petit peu, petit point. Vous savez, puisque nous avons parlé de langage créole, nous avons apprécié tous ces gens-là qui ont présenté en différents sujets pour le langage créole là, mais nous n'avons pas aussi pour un petit moment pour nous changer ces gens-là qui ont passé, mais j'ai fait une grande contribution au développement du langage créole là. Pour ça, nous avons un petit moment pour payer hommage pour défunt Felix Henderson avec Jamala Fontaine. À ce point, ça là, messieurs, mesdames, nous avons Grace Henderson, yes, qui recevoir en plaque à l'honneur défunt Felix Henderson. Avec mon là qui a présenté, c'est monsieur. Vous pouvez dire comment vous dites non en créole, hein? You need a Creole name. Jamais? Monsieur Brohim, qui a présenté Madame Henderson, c'est Grace Henderson. Qu'on a continué à payer hommage à défunt Felix Henderson. Merci, on chai. Aussi, nous avons Amanda Richards, qui recevoir en plaque aussi en l'honneur défunt Jamala Fontaine et ses filles défunt Fontaine. Madame Wicks, si vous permettez-moi, je dis encore, c'est des gens là, c'est des gens Gouambé. Comme ça, nous ne pouvons pas arrêter de parler de Gouambé après-midi. Mais nous avons aussi, oui, nous avons commencé, pas nous avons commencé, mais nous avons joindre la présentation nous l'après-midi. Et puis après la présentation, ça là, messieurs, mesdames, nous avons demandé pardon, mais on est pour quitter, comme ça, nous avons préparé pour l'autre mission créole, je la connais, avec la grande dame qui continue pour, jusqu'à temps nous finir après-midi. Mais nous avons une présentation en l'autre monde. Oui? Ça, madame, la grande dame, nous avons assisté nous et puis ça, pour introduire l'autre monde qui est pour stage à ce Zoom. And our next speaker, of course, will be speaking on the status of Creole in Trinidad in a multilingual Caribbean.
Okay, thank you so much. I was just Making sure that the microphone did not let me down. Les ACPA s'en vont. The ACPA couple has to leave. We can give them another round of applause. While I introduce Namdi Hodge. He is a distinguished French and Spanish educator, cultural producer, and passionate advocate for Trinidadian French Creole. For over 25 years, he has taught patois at leading institutions, authorized the seminal songbook, Vini. Should I stop? I'm hearing you all. Should I stop? Okay, the songbook that he authorized is called Vini chanter en patois, and he co-produced, oh boy, I'm still a teacher, man, I'm hearing you all. And he co-produced 4 French Creole films. He has built linguistic archives across Trinidad, Venezuela, and Grenada, and he presented at the international conferences. He leads a choir called Se Yon Bagay Patois, and as a founding member of Tout Bagay Patois, he is here to share with us. Namdi Hodge. Give him a Dominican, a Caribbean, Creole round of applause.
Merci en pile. So, katan moi? Oui. Right. Do katan moi, madame? Ou katan moi?
Oui, nous katan nous, oui.
Ok, je vais commencer, ok?
Ok.
Ok, so je vais commencer et puis un proverbe Trinidad qui a dit, ben ishmoun, mais pas laver derrière zoweyo. Right? So you're beating somebody's child, but certain areas are off limits to you. So you have to respect limits and boundaries. So I'm going to stick to my 10 minutes limit using this proverb in mind. Right? Ben ishmoun, mais pas laver derrière zoweyo. So people are always surprised to hear we have Creole in Trinidad because we were never colonized by France. Yet most of the 1800s, French and French Creole culture and language were dominant in Trinidad. That was our go-to language. We had French in education, in commerce, in religion, and we had French Creole as the language of day-to-day communication. Tout le monde te ka parler, gros moun, timamay, tout was te ka parler, chinois, beke, neg, tout le monde, zendien. All right, now our French Creole came through immigration. We were a Spanish colony in great need of a work labor force. We had large amounts of fertile land, but a very small population. So a cedula was passed by the Spanish government, inviting settlers to come to Trinidad with some nice conditions. And the neighboring French planters took up the offer from as far as Haiti and as near as Grenada, which was a French colony at the time. They came with the Creole-speaking enslaved Africans, and they quickly became the most dominant group in Trinidad as far as the numbers, the cultural impact, as well as the linguistic impact. So this group came from, our Creole is actually imported from as far as Haiti and as near as Grenada. So again, most of the 1800s, as somebody mentioned before, our calypso was sung first of all in Creole. Our first calypso known was a guy called Goujean. Our calypso was sung in Creole. Our belly songs were in Creole. Our stick fighting songs, all of our folk songs and children's game songs were sung in Creole. Right? Now the decline began when the English government sought to anglicize Trinidad, make it an English country, because they were faced with a country that spoke Spanish, Creole, Bhojpuri spoken by the Indians, and other languages. So they sought to make English as our sole language in the country. And this policy led to its decline in Trinidad. Right? They first of all set up schools in every ward in Trinidad and insisted that you had to teach only in English. So as somebody mentioned, they invited people from Barbados to come and work in the schools to teach in English as well, and up the Caribbean as well, other islands, Antigua and Anguilla as well. And they came and got jobs in education and also in the police force. Parents now saw a link between children acquiring English and improving their lives socially and economically. So they began to stop speaking to the children in Creole and only in English. And they retained Creole as a language for big folks to talk, langage bo moun, pou pale zafè moun, pou mal pale vwezen yo. It remain a language for adults to speak, to exclude children from the conversation. And this led to the decline of the Creole in Trinidad. So by around 1900s, most Trinidadians were bilingual, even trilingual. Many Trinidadians spoke Creole, English, and Spanish, and some also spoke Bhojpuri. Right? So by 1900, most Trinidadians would have spoken at least two languages, Creole and English. Most people who are baby boomers like Mr. Henderson, born in 1940s and onwards in Trinidad, most likely cannot determine where people spoke Creole up to like the 70s and are monolingual. But most Trinidadians born after 1940 cannot speak Creole fluently because of education reaching the far corners of Trinidad, and the parents stopped using it to their children, led to a decline and eventually English took over. Now, again, the speakers of Creole now are 70 years old and above. So when they die, most likely it will be dead in Trinidad as a native language being spoken. Some areas still speak it. Parmin is well known. It's an area up in the hills, very hard to reach. The other areas in red are all rural communities, fairly conservative, out of the way, inaccessible areas. So it's kept in these areas because of the geography of the areas in particular, and the fact that they were very rural, and English wasn't important because they were more or less farmers there, and to get a job, they just had to sell in the market where they would have spoken Creole anyhow. So English wasn't important there until recently. Right? But in general, English was seen as the language of education and to get a job, so parents insisted on the children speaking English and not Creole. So eventually, as people went to school more and English spread, the speakers of the language declined, and now there are, very few speakers now, and most of them are in the 80s and 70s. So when they die, it will also die as a language being spoken for day-to-day communication. Right? Despite all of this, we still have Creole all around us in Trinidad. In our English Creole, we have words we use every day that are straight from Creole without us knowing it. Right? So we use the word bazodi to mean somebody who is stunned or startled. Bosi back for a hunchback. We call an elderly woman tanti. We call a thorn picker. Carnival has, because our carnival started off being performed by Creole speakers. So we have Jab Jab. The Jab Molasses is the character who is covered in oil to replicate slaves who were thrown into vats of molasses in the old days. Our Juve is our official start of Carnival. These and many more words are used in Carnival from Creole. Stick fighting started off as an art form practiced by Creole speakers. So we have many words in it still from Creole. The bois is the stick used to fight. Carré is when you square off to fight your partner. Tiré is when you first draw the bois to start a fight. In our fauna, we have crapo, we have zandoli, mapipi zanana, that's the bushmaster. We have kobo as well. These words are used by Trinidadians to this day in their English Creole. Right? Some of our flora as well, dashin, Chatine, Zaboka, Pomsite, these are used in Trinidadian English Creole. We don't even have an English equivalent to these words. They're so ingrained in our language. Our folklore, we share our folklore with you all as well. We have Papa Bois, Lagahou, La Jablesse, Sukuya, Mamadolo, many others that are French Creole folkloric characters. Right? Now again, I have tried my best to preserve the language over 25 years now. I wrote a songbook in 2009. I collected every song I could find in the country that is in French Creole. And I wrote a songbook called Vini Chante en Patois. So it comes with a CD, which is kind of obsolete now, a CD, and then the words in Creole and English. It is used by some schools still. I've also documented the French Creole of Trinidad, Grenada, and Venezuela. And I have posted a lot of the videos on my YouTube channels, which are Cat Vixen Chick and Namdi Hodge. I also have a Facebook page called Trinidad Patois Speakers, where we publish all of our events to do with French Creole in Trinidad. And this archive, the posting on YouTube now has opened up an entire new market. People from the other islands are seeing our speakers speaking Creole in Trinidad and want to come here now and see it. Trinidadians are seeing the videos and want to come and learn Creole now because they're not aware it's spoken still and they're intrigued by the fact it's spoken still and lament the fact that they can't speak it themselves. So the videos have actually had a very great impact on spreading our Creole both in Trinidad and in the region and internationally. I've also been giving classes since 1999 teaching the Trinidad variety of French Creole. I teach it now at the Alliance Française of Trinidad, at UE, Caribbean Yard campus, our Venezuelan embassy, and other areas where I teach it in person and online. I also have 2 online classes, a level 1 and level 2. If you see my background there, that's one of the classes there. I've also formed a group called Tout Bagay Patois. Anything you need to know about our Creole, if you want to write a song in Creole, you want to help with a research project, if you have a film, you want to have Creole in the dialogue, we help you with that. If you want to have some product with a Creole name, we help you as well. So it's just to give people help on anything to do with Creole in Trinidad. Right? I've produced 4 French Creole films, 2 of which were in our local film festival, were well received as well. I have an online show called Tout Bagay Patois. We feature everything about Trinidad that has Creole involved. We had one on stick fighting, one on our Christmas music, another one on carnival and Creole. So it's all about looking at aspects of our culture that has some link to Creole. I have 2 choirs, Vini Chante and Patois, Sing Bagay Patois. We sing Trinidad Creole songs, all different genres, bel air, folk songs, calypsos, game songs. I teach it as well as my friend who teaches in a primary school in a community called Talparo. She actually teaches lessons in that school. And we also have the children involved in one of our, we have a French Creole Mass we have in October, which happened last Sunday, where we have the hymns written in Creole. We have some of the prayers in Creole and some of the sermon as well in Creole. And the children are greatly involved in this as well. They form the choir. Right? And again, the videos that I put online has really reached far and wide, and people are now coming to Trinidad to learn more about our Creole. Both people in the French Caribbean, other islands, and also Trinis abroad as well want to learn the language because they always say that their grandparents spoke it, but never got a chance to learn it. I have a little video clip here of, now as Creole speakers went into the town areas, they were always ridiculed because they had a very strong Creole accent. So this video here, there's some guys from Paramin speaking about, Paramin is an area where it's still spoken. And they say when they would go to Port of Spain, people pick up the accent and laugh at them for being 1 from Paramin and 2 being a Creole speaker. So they're going to discuss this in the video here and how they felt about being ridiculed by people in Port of Spain because of their supposed Creole accent.
We have no audio.
Okay, sorry, I'll share the audio. Sorry about that, folks. All right, is you getting audio now? Are you getting it now?
Yes.
L'autre, you nous avez français, parti français, avec bagage qui croisé. Mais langage cochon. Non, même. Langage cochon. Mais en présent, regardez, vous savez quand vous pour langage cochon en présent? Non, mais attends. Mais pas qu'à parler l'argent. Hey!
Moi, qu'est-ce que je suis à présent? La matière jeune. La matière jeune garçon. Jeune. Personne ne peut ça sans moi. Parler par toi. Pas mettre qu'à
c'est oui.
Non, mettez qu'à comment on dit? Non, pas capon. Caché. Non, caché. Comment on dit? Shame. Hein? Oui. Parce qu'on peut parler par toi, personne ne peut parler. Tout le monde peut parler anglais. Anglais plus belle passer ça passe. Ou sortir à country, vous connaissez.
Depuis vous commencez à parler par toi.
Oui. Yo country bouki.
Oui, ou sortir à boire.
Oui, ou sortir à boire.
Ou sortir à macaque comme ça.
Country.
Mais à présent.
À présent.
Ça,
Pile monde
c'est la vérité. Les vous sortez à boire, vous partez cette encore.
Non, c'est
c'est à boire, vous sortez.
Oui, mais yo te ka créé country bouki.
Mais comme ça,
ou honte quoi?
Quand vous faites?
Ou honte quoi? Mais c'est pas quand tu fais, tu quand tu honte.
Vous te cassez à tirer.
Honte, oui.
Oui, puis ça, mais là, vous dites, vous c'est un country bouki.
Mais c'est ça qui a fait honte. Oui. Si vous ne parlez pas aucun patois. Et puis attends ça, vous ne pouvez pas parler plus à pile qu'on est. Parce que vous ne pouvez pas rester. Comment?
Vous parlez belle diable?
Oui.
Il y a des gens qui t'ont dit, depuis moi, tant nous qu'à parler, moi connaître ces bois où sortir à monde. Tan, ou sorti par Amen.
Oui. Moi, t'es qu'à honte pour 10 moun. Moi, qu'à ouest par Amen. Parce que même bagarre, yo ka créé un compte bouki.
Namdi.
Mais au cas non, attends ça. À pile ti femme, à pile ti fille. Ou pas de personne qui a un compte bouki.
Chris, merci un peu tout le monde. Et puis, Ayo, merci pour ma chance pour parler l'épisode à Creole Trinidad. Merci un peu. I hope I didn't go past my 10-minute allocation.
Thank you so very much, Mouche Namdi. Merci en lot, merci en pile.
Pas de problème.
You know, if that story, you know, in fact, we could not have had that story in English. Although the country book is there, you know, but the Creole by un bon coup.
Really,
and you know, Mano came by me and he said, mais ça c'est Dominicain qui a parlé là.
C'est mon Trinidad.
Même bitin, nous avons dit country book même qu'on yo. Okay, now my next presenter, I'm not sure if he's there. Online. Okay, so our next presenter is going to give us. Oh yes, Namdi told us. I like Namdi. That's my nephew's name. He told us about the status of Creole in Trinidad and in multilingual Caribbean. Ou te bon, mouche Namdi. Merci en pile.
Pas de problème, c'était un plaisir pour moi.
Okay. And now we're going to listen to Creole in the media. And Father, I know you want me to come at the front, but I have to talk about Mr. Dennis Joseph, who was a pioneering broadcaster and former manager of DBS, the nation's station. He played a pivotal role in bringing Creole to the national airwaves, making DBS a powerful platform for cultural expression. Through his vision and leadership, Creole became a central part of Dominican broadcasting. He was known for his sharp commentary and deep cultural insight. Mr. Joseph influenced generations through radio and public discourse. His legacy lives on, as he does, as a champion of Creole and a transformative figure. Pardon? Okay. So we'll go with the other one. Okay. After I nearly read the whole thing. Well, Wadix, you can do that. You can do that. Okay. So we are looking now at the formation of a Creole language policy. And our speaker is Dr. Marie-Françoise Bernard. And she has CINO as well. She is a distinguished lecturer, poet, essayist, and Caribbeanist from Lorraine, Martinique, a specialist in the language, literatures, and cultures of the English-speaking Caribbean. Okay, and her career spans academia, educational leadership, and cultural advocacy, including her tenure as Dean of Inspectors for Secondary Schools. She is the author of Essai de développement endogène et the OECS in 10 questions, and she has contributed to major anthologies exploring Caribbean identity and feminist thought. As a founder of Cariba Archipel, she champions Caribbean cultural integration and recently represented Martinique at the World Poetry Festival in Venezuela with her collection of Rebel Moons. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Marie-Françoise Bernard. Bonjour, madame.
Bonjour. Bonjour tout le monde. Merci gouvernement Dominique et monsieur Wadix pour sembler là. Moi content tout bonnement pour l'épisode pour balang nous en belle pal. Et merci pour l'invitation à la consultation langue créole pays Dominique. Et moi Kadiba Kalinago people Dominique Mabouika. Moi ça fait tout plodari moi en créole mais I will switch, c'est ça, Monsieur Gordon Anderson qui a créé Diglossia. I will switch into English because our online audience may not be all Creole speakers. So, as a Caribbeanist and a linguist, I took part in several major projects about the Creole language. I assisted building 3 language policies or policy models related to Creole, including the introduction of a master's degree in Creole teaching at the Université des Antilles. My experience has led me to assert that when forming a language policy, in order to define your goals and make them clear to both learners and speakers, to both users and non-users, it is essential to consider several key aspects: social, cultural, political, educational, and practical dimensions. A good Creole language policy should achieve a balance between identity, inclusion, and functionality. A Creole language policy for me is being congruent in the way that we deal with the challenge to give the Creole language its rightful place in society as a full and respected language of communication, education, and identity, which will undoubtedly lead to collective economic development, a sense of belonging, and a feeling of pride in our Caribbeanness. Bouillon, soca, calypso, cadence, zouk, and compas, even chatanao, have shown that there is no obstacle on the way of our Creole language. Creole lyrics are being heard worldwide no matter what. Even in Korea, I heard a zouk in Creole sung by a Korean. This being said, now, how are we going to give the language its prestige and respect? It all needs both attitude and ideology. We must challenge the stigma attached to Creole as broken, as a patois, as inferior. Our task is to promote positive attitudes towards bilingualism and linguistic equality by supporting cultural expression, media, and arts in Creole. It means that we have to discuss and define the status of our language, develop its use, and treat it with the greatest consideration that it deserves, not only in the heart and minds of our people within the Caribbean, but also in the minds of those who live abroad in the metaspora. The most important characteristic of this policy must be its feasibility, but also, it must not be a dream, a trend, or a political flag, but a set of technical, measurable actions to promote communication and inclusion, to protect linguistic rights and reflect social and economic realities. The International Decade of Indigenous Languages promoted by UNESCO is a good opportunity for our region to implement a Creole language policy, a global or regional Creole language policy. And Dominica is the best place to start it
to think about the place of each language in a small island developing state, French Creole, Kalinago language, Kokoi, and local English. The objective of the plan is to officially recognize the Creole language as a national or co-official language, raise its prestige alongside dominant and colonial languages, encourage pride and identity linked to the Creole language itself and culture, language and culture. The formation of this language policy demands to unite a few different entities or actors into a committee, including community representative in planning and decision-making. I identified 6 partners, potential partners. First, the universities, all the universities from Haiti to Trinidad, who provide expertise in law, linguistics, pedagogy, culture, and psychology. The second partner could be legal and political representation, providing the expertise on the constitutionality of the decisions, observing respect of the hierarchy among the country languages, if there is any, propose legal tools to regulate interactions and guarantee equity between social groups. The third group would be social agents, artists, religious bodies. Kalinago, for instance, the Kalinago people would have a seat there. Kokoi speakers, Creole speakers, foreigners established in the country, parents or family organizations. The fourth one, education, those in charge of implementing this policy, like the executive, trainers, teachers, and students. The fifth partner could be the economic actors, culture and tourism industry, job providers, who will develop, generalize the policy, intensifying the use of Creole and adapt their tools. And I realized after the first 2 previous plans that I assisted in building, I realized that there was something missing. So I will add a 6th partner that could be a communication body to moderate decisions, record meetings, distribute productions from the different workshops led by this committee. And this must be anticipated because most of the time we had trouble when it was time to send documents that there was not a special group that would do that, and we would have to call every commission to ask for information. So if there is a body collecting all the results, all the documents, that could be interesting. When forming this language policy in the first stage, cultural and identity factors must be questioned. You have largely done that this morning. So in terms of language interactions, understand how people actually switch and mix languages in daily life, assess which languages are thriving and which are endangered or marginalized. In terms, this policy must check cultural identity in terms of community attitudes, recognize languages as carriers of history, tradition, and identity. In Martinique, community awareness is built around an event called Dictée Creole, which is not for school children alone. So next week, all around the country, thousands will sit for this traditional Creole event, write in Creole and celebrate with prestige. Before the Creole dictation starts, the applicants are given the rules for a good performance in proper harmonized Creole spelling. In Saint Lucia, I experienced Manger Creole and a Creole cricket called Roulé là-bas, I think it's that. And j'ai entend longtemps, the whole community is involved in promoting the language and adding value to it. After this recognition phase, it is necessary to elaborate a political and legal frameworks. I heard today the draft roadmaps, guidelines. So we have to define a constitutional and legal status for each language and guarantees and guarantee equity and inclusion. The policy must ensure compliance with national and international laws protecting linguistics and cultural rights. For example, when you consider Haitian Creole, it is co-official with French in Haiti. So educational considerations are the key to equity. Decide which language will be used in school at what stage. Mother tongue-based education in early years, for instance, and plan educational consideration like plan for teaching additional languages for wider communication and integration, provide teachers training and materials, provide teachers with training and materials. This can be done in cooperation with sister islands, with Guadeloupe, with Haiti, and Martinique. As for assessment and certification, align exams and qualification with the policy's language objectives. It could be relevant to consider a common sub-regional exam in the OECS. Martinique has a very efficient tool for teachers' certification that qualify them to teach in Creole. So exchange programs could be developed. When implementing language development, make sure that the standardized orthography, that I heard that before, spelling system and grammar is accepted to produce educational, literary, and media materials in Creole. Support research and terminology development for modern and academic use. And finally, language acquisition planning for adults and children is the final phase. Integrate Creole into the school system. So you have greatly been there, either as a subject of study or a medium of instructions. It's not only teaching Creole, but teaching in Creole. Train teachers to use Creole effectively in the classroom. So in all aspects, practical feasibility must be the guide. An efficient planning ensures that institutions can implement the policy realistically. Administrative capacity and available resources must be checked. So you have to consider cost for translation. For instance, today, there is something that could be interesting. It has subtitles, so this needs people to work on translation, interpreting, teacher training, and curriculum development. In the last phase of implementation, priorities must be announced. How will the plan be deployed? Which age groups or which sectoral groups are going first to start the implementation? Because implementation should start gradually with pilot programs. I heard that too, that you have pilot programs and specific sectors before full rollout. There is a technical committee in the French system called Commission Académique des Langues Vivantes. From 2 or 4 years, it depends on the academy. So I think they meet every 3 or 4 years. You need a similar entity with stakeholders involvement, teachers, parents, students, linguists, community representative in planning and decision making, to regulate the policy and define the plans for 2 or 4 years to help the progressing. In terms of monitoring and feedback, the agents are provided with a framework and precise measurable goals. National evaluations are held. It is necessary to establish mechanisms for evaluating effectiveness of the plan and making adjustments over time. So as I told to Wadix, every country has its own view of a language policy. So these are parts of my observation from what I saw in Saint Lucia and in Martinique. So to sum up, I can give you a definition of a Creole language policy. It is a language policy designed to recognize, protect, and promote the use of Creole language in public life, including education, administration, media, and culture, while managing its relationship with other languages, the relationship between Creole language and other languages, usually the dominant colonial language, but not only that. Because today, in a connected world, we must take into account other languages developing side by side with Creole, giving economic opportunities to those who want to spread Creole productions, art forms, cooking, fashion in other parts of the world. So I will end this presentation with a word of respect for Professor Vernet, who was the first person I met in Haiti, who died during the earthquake. He taught me how to master French or English in a Creole-speaking environment, in a Creole-speaking context. He died, and I think people don't know his work enough. So I think the OECS or even CARICOM will have to promote his work for teachers. On the other side, Alliance Française should be integrated in the project, and they are. It could be a good way to erase the word patois and erase the confusion between Creole and French in the English-speaking territories. I heard a title before about a broadcast, a religious broadcast. The title was in French, not in Creole. So I heard a speech from a lady in St. Lucia last week. She gave a whole speech in Creole. And when she finished, I said my French teacher would not be happy. So, because she thought she had spoken bad French. So, at last, and last but not least, I invite you to include the Kalinago language in your debate, since I could exchange a few words in Lokono with Miss Dominica last August on International Indigenous Day in Capesterre, Bello, Guadeloupe. And I remember she told me Mabuika, and I had known from other people, first people, Buiti, Binafi. So thank you for listening. Merci pour d'avoir écouté ça, mon fini dit. Moi, ka espérer, moi, ka penser, moi, essayer faire un summary, un résumé, ça, tout dit. Merci en pile, et puis, moi, ka souhaiter autres bonnes choses.
OK. Merci en lot, merci en pile, hein, Dr. Marie-Françoise Bernard. Et moi, nous tout coûté bien. Et puis, Saoudia, t'es qu'à marcher, t'es qu'à pointer à si toutes ces petits bitins là, nous t'en jodia. Ça, c'est un bon manger, nous tenir. Et moi, disons, qui moi, bien content, et puis Milia Joseph Dennis, pour être petit chef ten là, le petit chef ten. I am very happy to be able to hand over to our ambassador, Wadix.
Merci, la grande dame de la chanson antillaise for life. I really want to thank everyone here for staying at least overtime, an hour overtime. We had it to end at, or we were scheduled to end at 1. But the information was so in depth. And the partners putting this together, I want to really thank you. The Comité pour Études Creole in full support and abundance. A round of applause for the Comité pour Études Creole. The linguists in Comité pour Études Creole are working overtime. They are working overtime because they realize you can't get paid for this kind of work. No one can pay for this kind of work. It must be passion. It must be out of passion, through love for country, through patriotism. And before I leave, I just want to allow us to understand the kind of work that Keck is doing and has been doing for over 40 years. And pay tremendous homage and respect to those who passed. And this gentleman, I really want to single him out for holding the fort together. Ray, please stand up, please. I know you do not like those special accolades, but you continue to hold the team together, hold the culture together. I want to thank the University of the West Indies for allowing us to use this facility and allowing us to come here and partner every time. I want us to really thank the ministry most of all, who is the key partner in really getting the Creole language to every nook and cranny, because our children from baby, like we heard, needs to continue. We had a very descriptive situation from Delia, from a baby. If that particular baby continues, just try to imagine. It happens in certain communities. We also had some headline partners. By the way, the minister graced us with her presence and we were happy. Likewise, the two PSs, both really, their presence alone meant solidarity for the movement. I want to thank our Monsignor for always willing to come and share his Creolity with us. 100% Creole. Monsignor Eustace Thomas with the prayer. Our headline partners, I want to say special thank you to Dragon Windows and the Sign Man. By the way, the Sign Man will be receiving a Meritorious Service Award for his tremendous work. There were several other partners who came on board to really make this possible. Lyndon Lestrade, and this guy have been after it, several events here, but he continues to be an exemplary part of our movement. Lyndon Lestrade and the Multi Solutions Inc., Q95 FM, DNO, DBS Radio, Cairo FM, EMU News, Global, Going Global. Gordon Anderson is like one of my major mentors. From the time I met this brother, he continued to teach me. He's like a professor, teaching me and guiding me. We want to thank all the presenters. And I want to really call out their names. All of the presenters were simply exemplary. I was listening to the Trinidad Creole. Come see this. You would swear if you just watch the video, you'll believe it's some Dominican speaking. Same Creole, même Creole là. Même Creole là. Before we go to the presenters, I would like to thank Alliance Française. We have so much work to be doing. And we have several projects ongoing. It must happen with all of us. All of us. All of us have to come together and really move forward with this movement. No turning back this time, Monsignor. No turning there. But the presenters, I really want to say special thank you to Midlin Drango from Haiti, Raymond Lawrence from Dominica, Marina Bolas from Guadeloupe, Delia Coffee Wicks, my pal for life, Namdi Hodge from Trinidad. Mr. Dennis Joseph wasn't feeling well today. He tried to hook up online, but I guess he wasn't feeling well, so apologies. And before I go to the last presenter, I also want to big up the first presenters. Madam Sonia Akpa this was a lesson. This was truly a lesson. This lady is exemplary. Dr. Kentry Jean-Pierre from St. Lucia, Gordon Henderson, as usual, Magali Celestine, my word. This, to me, and I really hope that these images go far and wide. These various presentations go far and wide, and we can continue to share it. These are the kind of things we should be sharing. The presentations from the various presenters here today, these are the things we should be sharing all over Dominica, throughout our diaspora. Lena, look, we want to say special thank you. And I want to say special thank you to the two ladies. La Grande Dame de la Chanson Antillaise. If you were not married, I would have married you. and Milia Coffee. I want to say big up to my Creole Heartbeat crew, Jerry Williams, Julie. I want to big up Sister Nats. By the way, we are doing quite a bit of collaboration. Sister Nats, exemplary. She has been, as a matter of fact, she did a project just recently, Ray, where she actually went to a school and displayed some local snacks. Not the imported, but the local snacks. So we have the alternative. We can eat what we grow and be healthier than we are if we continue to eat what we grow. These are the production of the Signman again, and they are available. You can discuss with Jerry and the Signman how you can get some of those. But all in all, I want to say thank you, and let us make this movement one that is going to be prosperous. If we all say we love the Creole language, let us all push together. No one entity can do it. No one person can do it. Kek has been doing it, DBS Radio has been doing it. But one very critical thing we heard from my final, Boji, how can I forget this lady? Madame, and she's a doctor, by the way, Dr. Marie-Francois Bernard. She said a few things. One, teaching the language in Creole. So the teachers would be teaching Creole in Creole. Okay, that's one. Second is she also said that there may be courses available in Martinique for teachers. And who knows, opportunities to go to the university to further in Creole studies. We have very close relationships with our French neighbors now, so it's up to us now to use the advantage. We are 100% Creole. Delia Coffee Wicks told us it's not just the language. The language is the main link, is the spinal cord. We eat, we sleep, we dream, we think, we talk. Very importantly, it was the thought process. We bon Dieu, we think in Creole, and we're not even realizing it. Dominique, I want to thank you for today. I think it was historic. A document will be put together. The images will be shared to the various partners. And let us continue to share the movement, because we are truly a Creole people, whether we like it or not. God could have put us anywhere else. Monsignor, we could have placed us. When I heard Venezuela was speaking our Creole, Venezuela with Chavez, you think about the Creole? No. And we have it. We have people who can teach it. And we still continue to treat it like a habitation thing bagay. Habitation. The time has reached, Monsignor. I urge you to assist us to get this. The lady, Madame Bernard, is prepared. She has assisted St. Lucia. Ray, I can keep her and bring her to your disposal, and especially the linguist at the Ministry of Education. She assisted St. Lucia. She is free to assist us. So we are ready, Dominica. And the last thing I would like to leave with us, we are in the independence season. And something I've been observing is wrong. We have been cannibalizing the independence season. One of those days, Brother Prince told me we lost Kokoitori already. Ray could be able to tell us how many of our natural traditions we have lost. One of those days, if we don't look at what we are doing now, independence will be another carnival. And we will lost our true identity, and the work of E.O. Blas, Isikodera, Alwyn Bully, Raymond Lawrence, go on, will go in vain. Thank you very much, Dominica. Thank you very much for participating. We have a few snacks you can take on your way out. Merci, merci, appeal, merci, shy. Merci, hello.
À présent, nous allons représenter la Jinping. Ha! come well just for the cultural gala, yes. Time to show our cultural heritage as we face one another era of culture, yes. We could demonstrate our bouillon things. Dress up in our brilliant, dress up in their tech cassette, telling présent, nous allons représenter la Jinping. À présent, nous allons représenter